The Arabian Peninsula is changing fast. Insane ideas are turning into reality. Trillion-dollar megaprojects are reshaping skylines and transforming cities across continents, from massive sports stadiums to trade routes rivaling the Suez Canal, and from reviving 1,000-meter-tall skyscrapers to megacities built from scratch. These are the Arab world's monumental creations. Stay tuned as we take a closer look, starting with the crown jewel of future super-tall skyscrapers, and quite possibly the building that will finally break the 1-kilometer barrier, is the Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia. Originally known as Kingdom Tower, this ambitious project has captured imaginations worldwide with its goal to reach at least 1,000 meters into the sky, and possibly even higher. Jeddah Tower was announced in 2011 at the height of the global race to build ever-taller skyscrapers. Saudi Arabia, despite being one of the wealthiest nations in the Middle East, had never competed seriously in this race. The Jeddah Tower was conceived to change that, positioning Saudi Arabia alongside the United Arab Emirates as a center of architectural ambition and achievement. The project is being developed by Jeddah Economic Company, a consortium that includes Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, one of Saudi Arabia's wealthiest and most influential business people. The tower is the centerpiece of Jeddah Economic City, a planned development along the Red Sea coast that will eventually include residences, hotels, offices, and entertainment districts covering several square kilometers. The tower isn't just a building. It's meant to be the anchor for an entirely new urban district that will transform Jeddah's northern coastline. Design work was awarded to Adrian Smith, the same architect who designed the Burj Khalifa for Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill. After leaving SOM, Smith founded his own firm, Adrian Smith plus Gordon Gill Architecture, and Jeddah Tower became their first major commission. The design features a sleek aerodynamic form that tapers as it rises, with a triangular footprint that helps reduce wind loads. The tower's shape is said to be inspired by the bundled fronds of desert plants, creating a form that's both elegant and inherently suited to its environment. Construction officially began in April 2013 with a groundbreaking ceremony attended by Prince Al-Walid and other Saudi officials. The early work focused on the foundation, which required extraordinary engineering. The tower sits on land reclaimed from the Red Sea, which presented challenges related to soil stability and the need to protect against saltwater infiltration. Deep pilings were driven into the bedrock, and massive amounts of concrete were poured to create a foundation capable of supporting what would become the world's tallest structure. Progress in the early years was steady. By 2014, the foundation was complete and above-ground construction had begun. The tower started rising from the ground, and excitement built as it became clear that this wasn't just another announced project that might never materialize. It was actually happening. By 2017, the tower had reached a height of about 63 floors, or roughly 252 meters, about a quarter of its planned height. Then, in 2017, construction abruptly stopped. The Saudi Arabian Purge of 2017, in which Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the detention of numerous princes, ministers, and business people on corruption charges, directly impacted the project. Prince Al-Walid was among those detained, and his business interests, including Jeddah Tower, were thrown into uncertainty. The construction site fell silent, with cranes frozen in place and workers departing. For several years, the tower sat incomplete and seemingly abandoned. The partially built structure became a symbol of the risks inherent in megaprojects that depend on the fortunes of wealthy individuals and the political stability of nations. Observers debated whether construction would ever resume, with some arguing the project was effectively dead. However, the story didn't end there. Prince Al-Walid was released in 2018 after reaching a financial settlement with the Saudi government. In subsequent years, there were periodic announcements that construction would resume, though these were repeatedly delayed. Various factors contributed to the delays: resolving ownership and financing issues, the COVID-19 pandemic's impact on construction sectors worldwide, and Saudi Arabia's broader economic focus on the massive NEOM project and other initiatives under Vision 2030. The hiatus finally ended in 2024 when credible reports emerged that Jeddah Economic Company had secured new financing and was conducting extensive structural assessments of the existing tower. Engineering teams evaluated whether nearly 7 years of exposure had compromised the structure's integrity. The good news was that the reinforced concrete core had weathered the hiatus better than feared, though extensive remediation work would be necessary before construction could resume. By late 2024 and into 2025, there were concrete signs of renewed activity at the construction site. New equipment began appearing, site offices were re-established, and contractors were brought back to prepare for a construction restart. In early 2025, Jeddah Economic Company officially announced that construction would resume in the second half of 2025, with completion targeted for 2030, a timeline that would align with the conclusion of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 initiative. As we move through 2026, preparatory work is underway. The existing structure is being assessed floor by floor, with repairs made to any concrete that has degraded. The construction plans have been updated to incorporate nearly a decade of advances in building technology and materials. New safety systems, more efficient mechanical systems, and improved curtain wall technology will be integrated into the remaining construction. Jeddah Tower, that remained the ultimate almost in the world of super tall skyscrapers for a decade, is all set to become the first building to pierce the kilometer mark. Whether it succeeds or becomes a cautionary tale about the risks of mega projects will be determined in the years ahead. But one thing is certain: if Jeddah Tower tops out at 1,000 meters or beyond, it will be one of the most significant architectural moments of the 21st century. The Jeddah Tower looks set to take the crown for the tallest skyscraper in the world. However, it may not be the only one to break the 1-kilometer barrier. Over the next few years, 2 more skyscrapers in the Middle East might join the exclusive club. More on that later as we take a look at the tallest standing buildings in Arabia. After 5 failed attempts to host the World Cup, Morocco finally won the hosting rights for the 2030 World Cup, making history as the second African nation to host football's biggest competition after South Africa in 2010. And Morocco isn't content with just participating. The country wants to deliver a World Cup that will be remembered for generations. The first part of the deal is the modernization of Morocco's football infrastructure, and the country is spending billions to achieve just that. The key cog in this infrastructure push is a stadium named after King Hassan II, the ruler of Morocco from 1961 to 1999, and was instrumental in modernizing the country. The stadium will be built in Ben Slimane, a city about 60 kilometers northeast of Casablanca, strategically located between Morocco's economic capital and the airport. With a planned capacity of 115,000 spectators, it will become the largest football stadium in Africa and one of the largest in the world, surpassing even Barcelona's iconic Camp Nou. The project was officially announced in 2023, straight after Morocco's bid to co-host the World Cup was confirmed by FIFA. The Moroccan government immediately began assembling a team of international architects and engineers to design a stadium that would showcase both Morocco's rich cultural heritage and its modern ambitions. The design incorporates traditional Moroccan architectural elements, geometric patterns inspired by Islamic art, materials that reference the country's historic buildings, and a color palette drawn from Morocco's landscapes. Construction officially began in late 2023, with initial work focusing on the massive foundation required to support a structure of this scale. The site required extensive preparation, including soil stabilization and the creation of underground infrastructure for utilities, parking, and service areas. The stadium's foundation alone required hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of concrete, poured over months of intensive work. The construction timeline is tight. The stadium must be completed by early 2029 to allow time for testing and FIFA inspections before the 2030 World Cup. This gives Morocco roughly 5 years from groundbreaking to completion, an aggressive schedule for a project of this magnitude. As of early 2026, the foundation work is complete and the stadium's structural frame is beginning to rise above ground. Steel and concrete work is progressing on schedule, with thousands of workers on site daily. The stadium's design is remarkable not just for its size, but for its innovation. The roof structure will be one of the largest in Africa, providing shade for spectators while allowing natural ventilation, crucial in Casablanca's warm climate. The stadium will incorporate modern amenities, including VIP suites, premium seating areas, world-class hospitality spaces, and cutting-edge broadcast facilities that meet FIFA's strict requirements for World Cup venues. But the Hassan II Stadium is only part of Morocco's massive football infrastructure investment. The country is simultaneously renovating 6 existing stadiums across major cities: Agadir, Casablanca, Fez, Marrakesh, Rabat, and Tangier. This renovation program carries an additional budget of approximately $1 billion, bringing Morocco's total World Cup infrastructure spending to around $2 billion. The 2030 tournament represents not just a sporting event, but validation of Morocco's development and its position as a stable, modern nation capable of hosting the world's biggest sporting event. The government views this $2 billion investment as money that will pay dividends for decades through tourism, international prestige, and improved sports infrastructure that Moroccan citizens will use long after the World Cup ends. The renovations to the 6 existing stadiums are substantial projects in themselves. In Rabat, the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium is being completely rebuilt with a new capacity of 50,000. In Marrakesh, the Grand Stade de Marrakech is being expanded and modernized. Casablanca's Mohammed V Stadium, one of Morocco's most historic venues, is receiving a complete overhaul while maintaining its iconic status. Each renovation must meet FIFA's strict standards for World Cup venues while also serving the needs of local football clubs and fans. The economic impact of these projects extends far beyond construction. Tens of thousands of jobs have been created, not just for construction workers, but for engineers, architects, planners, and suppliers. Moroccan companies are gaining experience with world-class infrastructure projects, building expertise that can be applied to future developments. The improved stadiums will also boost Morocco's domestic football league, providing better facilities for local teams and potentially attracting international tournaments and matches. There's also a broader regional significance. Morocco is positioning itself as North Africa's sports hub, competing with countries like Qatar and the UAE that have invested heavily in sports infrastructure. Success with the 2030 World Cup could lead to Morocco hosting other major events, perhaps the African Cup of Nations, international athletics championships, or even a future Olympics bid. The construction of Hassan II Stadium and the renovation of 6 other venues represents Morocco's largest ever sports infrastructure program. Whether Morocco can complete this ambitious program on time and on budget will be tested over the next 4 years, but current progress suggests the country is determined to make this home World Cup a success that transforms Moroccan football forever. As massive as the new stadium is, the upcoming mega projects will become 10 times more extreme, starting with a water crossing in Qatar's capital that is no short of an engineering marvel. Dubai is home to one of the busiest airports in the world. The Dubai International Airport welcomes over 80 million travelers a year, but it has a problem. It's running out of room. The airport sits right in the middle of the city, surrounded by buildings and roads, with absolutely nowhere to expand. The airport's physical constraints mean it will max out at around 100 to 120 million passengers annually. For Dubai to continue growing as an aviation hub and maintain Emirates Airlines' competitive position, expanding capacity is essential. Dubai's solution to the problem is to build something even bigger. In April 2024, Dubai announced a $33 billion expansion of the Al-Maktoum International Airport. The airport has been operational since 2010, but handles just over 1 million passengers annually. Most people don't even know it exists, but that's all about to change in a big way. The new plan will transform Al-Maktoum into the largest airport on the planet. It will have 5 runways, 4 passenger terminals, and a capacity of 260 million passengers per year. To put that in perspective, Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson, currently the world's busiest airport, handles about 100 million. Al-Maktoum will be nearly 3 times that size. Dubai needs the new airport because of its position as a global aviation hub. The city lies almost exactly halfway between London and Singapore, making it the perfect stopover point for long-haul flights. The city has built its entire economy around being a global connector, a place where East meets West, where business deals happen, and where millions of tourists come to experience something extraordinary. The new airport is planned to match the city's rapid expansion. Al-Maktoum International Airport opened in 2010 in the Jebel Ali area, about 37 kilometers southwest of downtown Dubai. The location was chosen for its vast open desert that could accommodate massive expansion, a single runway, and a small terminal focused primarily on cargo operations. The plan was always to expand dramatically, but the timing would depend on when Dubai International reached capacity and when funding became available. The current expansion plan will transform Al-Maktoum into an airport like no other. Construction is being planned in 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 focuses on building the core infrastructure, 2 of the 5 runways, the first terminal complex, and the essential support facilities including the air traffic control tower, fuel systems, and maintenance hangars. This phase targets completion by the mid-2030s and will bring capacity to 130 million passengers annually. Phase 2 will add the second terminal and additional runways, pushing capacity toward 200 million. Phase 3, targeted for completion around 2050, will finish the remaining infrastructure and reach the ultimate capacity of 255 million passengers. The cargo facilities represent a project within the project. Al-Maktoum is being designed to handle 16 million tons of freight annually, making it one of the world's premier air cargo hubs. This reflects Dubai's strategy of positioning itself as a global logistics center, where goods from Asia can be quickly transferred to aircraft bound for Europe, Africa, or the Americas. Massive warehouses, temperature-controlled facilities for perishables, and specialized handling equipment for dangerous goods are all part of the plan. But an airport of this scale can't function in isolation. The expansion plan includes a 40-kilometer network of roads and rail connections. A dedicated metro line will link Al-Maktoum to Dubai's existing metro system, allowing passengers to reach the airport from anywhere in the city without driving. Highway expansions will accommodate the thousands of taxis, buses, and private vehicles that will serve the airport daily. Even the Etihad Rail network, UAE's national railway system, will have a station at Al-Maktoum, potentially allowing passengers to arrive by train from Abu Dhabi or other Emirates. There's also fierce regional competition at play. Saudi Arabia has announced plans for King Salman International Airport in Riyadh, which will have capacity for 185 million passengers and aims to position Riyadh as the region's aviation hub. Abu Dhabi is expanding its airport to accommodate the growth of Etihad Airways. Qatar's Hamad International Airport continues expanding following the World Cup. Dubai's leadership views the Al-Maktoum expansion as necessary to maintain the city's position as the Middle East's premier aviation gateway. As of early 2026, the project remains largely in planning and early design phases. Environmental assessments are underway. Engineering firms are refining designs, and the phasing strategy is being finalized. Actual construction, the moment when bulldozers begin moving earth and concrete starts being poured, hasn't yet begun on the expansion. This is why the mid-2030 timeline for Phase 1 seems more realistic than the 2030 target initially floated. While Dubai focuses on dominating the skies, its regional rival is building an airport of its own, one that could challenge Dubai's aviation supremacy and reshape the balance of power in the Middle East. There are tall buildings, and then there's the Burj Khalifa, a skyscraper so iconic and record-breaking that it has become synonymous with Dubai itself. At 828 meters tall, it's not just the tallest building in the Middle East or the tallest in the world. It's in a category of its own, standing close to 200 meters taller than its nearest competitor. The Burj Khalifa's story begins in the early 2000s when Dubai was in the midst of an unprecedented building boom. The city's ruler, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, had a vision to transform Dubai from a regional trading hub into a global city that could compete with New York, London, and Hong Kong. Central to this vision was creating something that had never been done before, the world's tallest building by a significant margin. Emaar Properties, Dubai's largest real estate developer, took on the challenge. They hired Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, the legendary architecture firm behind many of the world's tallest buildings, to design something truly extraordinary. The chief architect, Adrian Smith, created a design inspired by Islamic architecture, particularly the geometric patterns found in regional mosques and the spiral minaret form. The building's Y-shaped floor plan was both aesthetic and functional, reducing wind forces on the tower while maximizing views and interior space. Construction began in 2004, and from the start, it was clear this would be a record-breaking project in every sense. The foundation required a massive reinforced concrete mat supported by 192 piles buried more than 50 meters deep into the ground. Over 45,000 cubic meters of concrete were used just for the foundation, and this was only the beginning. As the tower rose, it set construction records almost monthly. The concrete was pumped to higher elevations than ever before achieved. Special high-performance concrete was developed that could withstand the pressure and environmental conditions. At peak construction, over 12,000 workers from around the world worked on the site, proceeding 24 hours a day. The logistics of moving materials, workers, and equipment to ever-increasing heights presented constant challenges that required innovative solutions. The tower topped out in 2009 at 828 meters, more than 160 floors reaching into the sky. This was significantly taller than early announcements had suggested. The developers had deliberately kept the final height secret to prevent competitors from attempting to exceed it before construction was complete. When the building officially opened in January 2010, it didn't just break the record for world's tallest building, it shattered it, exceeding the previous record holder, Taipei 101, by over 300 meters. But Burj Khalifa holds many other records besides height. It has the most stories of any building, 163 floors, though the highest occupied floor is 154. It has the world's highest observation deck, 555 meters on the 148th floor. It features the world's longest travel distance elevators. The building's exterior required over 26,000 glass panels, each hand-cut and individually installed. The LED lighting system uses over 120,000 watts and can create stunning displays visible across Dubai. Inside, the tower is a mixed-use development on an unprecedented scale. The lower floors contain a luxury hotel operated by Armani, marking the fashion brand's first hotel venture. Corporate office space occupies the middle sections, attracting major international companies that want a prestigious Dubai address. Residential apartments fill floors 44 through 108, ranging from one-bedroom units to multi-floor penthouses. The 122nd floor houses a restaurant and observation deck, while the very highest floors contain communications equipment. The residences in Burj Khalifa were among the most sought-after properties in the world when they went on sale. Buyers included celebrities, business magnates, and royalty from around the globe. The views from these apartments are simply unmatched. On a clear day, residents can see over 80 kilometers in every direction. Watching sunrise or sunset from such heights is an experience that defies description. The building's impact on Dubai has been transformative. It anchored the development of downtown Dubai, a massive mixed-use district that includes the Dubai Mall, one of the world's largest shopping centers, hotels, restaurants, and entertainment venues. The fountain show at the tower's base has become one of Dubai's most popular free attractions, with choreographed water displays set to music occurring every evening. Burj Khalifa's construction cost was reported to be around $1.5 billion, though some estimates suggest the total investment, including surrounding infrastructure, may have exceeded $4 billion. Despite this enormous cost, the tower has been incredibly successful commercially. The observation decks alone generate significant revenue, welcoming millions of visitors each year who pay premium prices to ascend to the top. The residential and commercial spaces command premium rents and sale prices. The tower has more than justified its cost through both direct returns and the immeasurable value of putting Dubai on the global map. The engineering behind Burj Khalifa influenced skyscraper design worldwide. Its bundled tube structural system, which uses a central reinforced concrete core surrounded by a hexagonal pattern of structural elements, has been adapted for numerous subsequent tall buildings. The way it addresses wind loads, through its setbacks that create different tower widths at different heights, provided solutions that other super tall projects have studied and implemented. Maintaining a building of this scale presents unique challenges. A dedicated team of workers is employed full-time just for cleaning the exterior glass, a task that takes months to complete from top to bottom. The building has its own sophisticated climate control system that accounts for the significant temperature differences between ground level and the top floors. High-speed elevators travel at 10 meters per second, yet the building has multiple elevator banks to reduce wait times. For visitors, going to the top of Burj Khalifa is almost a spiritual experience. The elevator ride takes about a minute, during which a video display shows you passing other famous buildings at their heights, demonstrating just how much taller Burj Khalifa truly is. When the doors open at the observation deck, the view is breathtaking. The city sprawls below in every direction, with the desert visible in the distance and the Persian Gulf glittering on the horizon. Burj Khalifa has appeared in countless films, TV shows, and photographs. It was featured prominently in Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol, where Tom Cruise performed stunts on the exterior of the building. It's become an instantly recognizable symbol of Dubai and modern architectural achievement, much like the Eiffel Tower represents Paris or the Empire State Building represents New York. Now, more than a decade after opening, Burj Khalifa remains the world's tallest building. While other projects have been announced that claim they will exceed its height, none have yet been completed. The tower stands as both a testament to human ambition and engineering capability, and as a symbol of Dubai's transformation from a desert trading post to a global metropolis in just a few decades. But Burj Khalifa's throne is under real threat. The Arab world is mounting a fierce challenge, and it won't be long before the 1,000-meter barrier is breached. It all begins with a skyscraper that's being brought back from the dead. Doha sits on a peninsula extending into the Persian Gulf. The city has grown explosively over the past few decades as Qatar's oil and gas wealth has transformed it from a small trading port into a gleaming modern metropolis. But this rapid growth created a massive problem. Doha Bay cuts through the heart of the city, and currently there are only two ways to get from one side to the other: the Corniche Road that goes all the way around the bay, or the Al Rayyan Road that skirts the southern edge. During rush hour, what should be a quick 5-minute journey can take over an hour. Traffic congestion costs Doha's economy hundreds of millions of dollars annually through lost productivity, wasted fuel, and reduced quality of life. The Sharq Crossing project will solve these problems with not one, but 3 separate crossings spanning Doha Bay, creating a massive transportation corridor that will reshape the entire city. The centerpiece is a cable-stayed bridge that will become one of Qatar's most iconic structures. But recognizing that a single bridge wouldn't be enough to handle Doha's traffic, the project also includes an immersed tube tunnel running beneath the bay and a land crossing that will connect different parts of the coastal road network. Qatar first began seriously studying options for crossing Doha Bay in the early 2000s as the country prepared to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup. The tournament would bring millions of visitors to a city whose infrastructure was already struggling with congestion. Initial proposals focused on a single bridge, but engineering studies revealed that Doha Bay's depth, the soft seabed conditions, and the need to maintain shipping access meant a more comprehensive solution was needed. The current 3-crossing design was finalized around 2017, with detailed engineering studies conducted over the following years. The project was officially approved and funded in 2019, with construction scheduled to begin in 2020. However, the COVID-19 pandemic delayed the start, and groundwork didn't actually commence until 2021. The cable-stayed bridge represents the most visible element of the project. Rising over 200 meters above the water, the bridge will feature distinctive towers that will become new landmarks on Doha's skyline. The design draws inspiration from both modern engineering and traditional Qatari architecture, with towers that reference the shapes of dhow sails, the traditional boats that have plied these waters for centuries. The bridge will carry 8 lanes of traffic, plus dedicated lanes for public transit, along with pedestrian walkways that will offer spectacular views across Doha Bay. Building the bridge foundations in Doha Bay presents significant challenges. The seabed consists of soft marine sediments that require deep piling to reach stable bedrock. Each of the main towers sits on massive foundations that extend 50 to 60 meters below the seabed. The construction process involves driving hundreds of steel piles, then creating enormous concrete caissons that will support the tower structures. This work must be done while maintaining shipping access to Doha's port and minimizing environmental impact on the bay's marine ecosystem. The immersed tube tunnel takes a completely different engineering approach. Rather than spanning above the water, this tunnel will run beneath the bay in prefabricated concrete sections. Each section is built on land, floated into position, then carefully lowered to the seabed where it connects to the previous section. The tunnel will eventually stretch over 3 kilometers, with multiple lanes for traffic, plus emergency exits and ventilation systems. Immersed tube tunnels are complex but proven technology. Similar tunnels exist in places like Hong Kong, Copenhagen, and South Korea. As of early 2026, construction is well underway on all 3 crossings. The bridge's main towers are rising above the water, with pile driving and foundation work complete. The tunnel sections are being fabricated in purpose-built yards, with the first sections already installed on the seabed. The land crossing component is progressing fastest, as it involves more conventional road construction techniques. The $12 billion budget makes this one of the most expensive infrastructure projects in Qatar's history, exceeded only by the massive investments in World Cup stadiums and the Doha Metro. But unlike World Cup stadiums, which see limited use after the tournament, the Sharq crossing will serve Doha's residents and economy for decades to come. The project is being funded entirely by the Qatari government through its Public Works Authority, with major international construction firms leading the work alongside local contractors. Once complete, the new crossings will cut travel times dramatically. A journey that currently takes 45 to 60 minutes during rush hour will be reduced to 10 to 15 minutes. This will open up new areas for development, as neighborhoods that were previously too far from job centers become practical places to live. The project will also reshape Doha's urban development patterns. Areas on the western side of Doha Bay that have remained underdeveloped due to poor connectivity will suddenly become prime real estate. Qatar's government is already planning major mixed-use developments in these areas, anticipating that improved access will drive demand. The increased connectivity will also make Doha more attractive to international businesses and expatriate workers, supporting Qatar's broader economic diversification goals. The completion timeline targets 2028 for the first crossing to open, with all 3 crossings operational by 2030. This would represent roughly 9 years from initial construction start to full completion. If Qatar meets this schedule, the Sharq crossing will transform Doha just as the city continues growing as a regional hub for business, culture, and tourism. While the country gained global attention through the World Cup, projects like this demonstrate Qatar's focus on building the foundations of a modern, efficient city that can compete with Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and other regional capitals. When completed, the crossing will stand as one of the Middle East's most impressive transportation megaprojects, a $12 billion solution to a problem that has frustrated Doha's residents for decades. From one of the most delayed water crossings, we move over to Egypt and to one of the fastest completed megaprojects in history. King Salman International Airport in Riyadh isn't just Saudi Arabia's attempt to compete with Dubai. It's a centerpiece of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030 plan to transform the kingdom's economy away from oil dependency. And the numbers they're throwing around are staggering even by Middle Eastern standards. The airport is planned to cover 57 square kilometers, making it one of the largest airport complexes by land area in the world. When completed, it will have 6 parallel runways and the capacity to handle 185 million passengers annually by 2050. That's more than London Heathrow, Tokyo Haneda, and Los Angeles International combined. But this isn't just about regional supremacy. Riyadh's current aviation situation also calls for a revamp. King Khalid International Airport, built in the 1980s, handles about 30 million passengers annually and is approaching capacity. The airport was designed for a much smaller Riyadh. However, the city has seen explosive growth with over 7 million residents and is expanding further, making the existing airport unsustainable for long. But rather than simply expanding King Khalid, Saudi Arabia decided to think bigger. King Salman International Airport will be built on the site of the old Riyadh Air Base, about 35 kilometers north of the city center. The location offers vast, empty land for expansion while still being reasonably close to Riyadh's growing urban area. The master plan includes 6 parallel runways, more than almost any airport in the world. The terminal complex will span 9 square kilometers, with multiple concourses running from a central terminal building. The airport's design is inspired by traditional Saudi culture. Geometric patterns and spaces that reference Islamic architecture will be seen throughout the mega airport. The goal is to create an airport that feels distinctly Saudi while offering world-class efficiency and service. A key part of the project is integration with Riyadh's expanding public transportation network. High-speed rail connections will link the airport to downtown Riyadh and potentially to other Saudi cities. Metro lines will provide local connectivity. The aim is to make the airport accessible, reducing traffic congestion and environmental impact. This $36 billion plan is also in line with Saudi Arabia's aviation ambitions. The kingdom announced in 2023 that it would create a new national airline, Riyadh Air, to compete with Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Etihad. This will be Riyadh Air's home base, with dedicated facilities and gates. The government also announced plans to dramatically expand existing carrier Saudia. Together, these airlines would funnel millions of passengers through the new airport, creating an aviation ecosystem to rival Dubai. Built at the crossroads of Asia, Europe, and Africa, the airport will leverage its location to accommodate up to 12 million tons of cargo annually. Construction officially began in 2024 with site preparation and initial infrastructure work. Initial earthworks and foundation preparation are underway, with the first runway and essential infrastructure taking shape. The first phase targets completion around 2030 to 2032, which would bring capacity to 50 to 60 million passengers, enough to replace King Khalid Airport and accommodate initial growth. Subsequent phases would add capacity incrementally, reaching the full 185 million passenger target by the mid-2040s. For decades, Dubai has dominated Middle Eastern aviation. Emirates Airline is the world's largest international carrier, and Dubai International is among the busiest airports globally. Saudi Arabia, despite being larger and more populous, has lacked comparable aviation infrastructure. King Salman International Airport aims to change that equation, giving Saudi Arabia the physical infrastructure to compete directly with Dubai. From the competition for aviation supremacy, we shift to a project that's already operational and proving its worth, a rail network that moved millions during one of the world's biggest sporting events. Egypt is famous for its gigantic pyramids, the all-powerful pharaohs, and thousands of years of ancient history. But modern Egypt is proving just as iconic with Africa's newest and tallest skyscraper. The 385-meter-tall iconic tower stands as the centerpiece of Egypt's new administrative capital, a massive urban development located 50 kilometers east of Cairo. The project was born out of necessity. Cairo's population had grown so large that congestion and infrastructure strain became major concerns for the government. Egyptian officials made the bold decision to build an entirely new administrative center from the ground up. The iconic tower's design pays homage to Egypt's legendary past while embracing cutting-edge modern construction. The tower's form is directly inspired by pharaonic monuments, with clean lines and geometric precision that echo the timeless design principles of ancient Egyptian architecture. The exterior features a striking glass facade that reflects the desert sun, while the internal structure relies on reinforced concrete to provide stability in the region's climate. Construction began in May 2018 with massive foundation work that would support the tower's immense weight. A Chinese construction firm took on the challenge, working in partnership with Egyptian engineers and laborers. The project moved at an impressive pace. By July 2021, the tower had structurally topped out. This meant all 80-plus floors had been completed and the building had reached its full height. The iconic tower absolutely dwarfs Africa's previous tallest building, the Leonardo in Johannesburg, and stands more than twice as tall as the historic Cairo Tower. When the tower opened in 2022, it immediately became a symbol of Egypt's ambitions for the 21st century. The building serves multiple purposes within the new capital. Government offices occupy a significant portion of the tower, but the iconic tower isn't just about bureaucracy. The upper floors feature luxury residences with panoramic views of the surrounding desert landscape, while observation decks allow visitors to see for miles in every direction. The Egyptian government funded the majority of the project, viewing it as a strategic investment in the country's future. The new administrative capital as a whole represents one of the largest urban development projects currently underway anywhere in the world, with an estimated cost exceeding $60 billion. The iconic tower, as the crown jewel of this development, sits just outside the top 10 tallest buildings in the region as we move to Kuwait for the first building to breach the 400-meter mark. Every day, dozens of massive container ships queue in the waters off Egypt, waiting their turn to transit through one of the world's most important waterways. The Suez Canal, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, handles about 12% of global trade. But in 2013, Egypt faced a crisis. The canal was approaching capacity, ships were waiting days for transit, and Egypt risked losing business to alternate routes. The original Suez Canal opened in 1869 after 10 years of construction that cost 100,000 Egyptian workers their lives. The 193-kilometer waterway instantly became one of the world's most strategic assets, cutting 7,000 kilometers off the journey between Europe and Asia by eliminating the need to sail around Africa. Control of the Suez has sparked wars, international crises, and diplomatic standoffs. Egypt earns over $8 billion annually from canal transit fees, making it one of the country's most important sources of foreign currency. By the early 2000s, the canal faced serious capacity constraints. Ships were getting bigger. Modern container ships can carry over 20,000 containers, making them too large to pass each other in much of the canal. This meant the canal operated like a one-way street, with convoys of ships heading south in the morning and north in the afternoon. If ships arrived at the wrong time, they waited in holding areas for the next convoy, sometimes for days. As global trade grew, these delays became more frequent and longer. In August 2014, Egypt's president Abdel Fattah el-Sisi announced a solution that was audacious: build a second Suez Canal. Rather than a typical government infrastructure project with years of planning and international financing, El-Sisi announced that Egypt would build a 72-kilometer parallel channel in just 1 year, funded entirely by Egyptian citizens through investment certificates. The announcement was met with widespread skepticism. How could Egypt possibly dig 72 kilometers of canal in 12 months when the original Suez took a decade? But El-Sisi was serious. Within days, Egypt launched a massive public fundraising campaign, selling investment certificates to citizens. Incredibly, Egyptians purchased $8 billion worth of certificates in just 8 days, demonstrating both patriotic fervor and confidence in the project. With funding secured, Egypt mobilized on a scale unseen since the construction of the Aswan High Dam in the 1960s. Construction began immediately in August 2014. Rather than starting from scratch, the plan called for expanding and deepening an existing parallel channel in the northern section of the canal while digging an entirely new 37-kilometer section in the southern part. This approach reduced the total amount of excavation required while still achieving the goal of allowing two-way traffic. The scale of the operation was staggering. Egypt deployed 17 international dredging companies, operating 27 dredgers, working 24 hours a day. The companies came from Belgium, the Netherlands, and Egypt itself. Over 1,000 smaller vessels supported the dredging operations. On land, construction equipment manufacturers shipped in some of the world's largest excavators and dump trucks. At peak construction, over 35,000 workers were on site, digging through sand and rock under Egypt's brutal summer sun. The logistics were enormously complex. The dredgers removed roughly 250 million cubic meters of sand and rock, enough to fill 100,000 Olympic swimming pools. This material couldn't just be dumped randomly. It had to be moved to designated areas where it wouldn't block shipping lanes or damage marine ecosystems. Fresh water had to be brought to the desert work sites. Workers needed housing, food, and medical facilities in areas with virtually no existing infrastructure. Engineers faced specific technical challenges unique to the Suez. Unlike rivers or harbors where you're dredging relatively stable sediment, the Suez Canal cuts through areas where the seabed can shift. The canal banks had to be carefully engineered to prevent collapse, especially in areas where the new channel ran parallel to the old one, with only a narrow strip of land between them. In some sections, the canal bottom lies below sea level, requiring constant pumping to prevent flooding of work areas. Remarkably, Egypt completed the project in just 11 months. In August 2015, almost exactly 1 year after the announcement, President El-Sisi inaugurated the new Suez Canal in a lavish ceremony attended by foreign dignitaries and broadcast live across Egypt. The opening was treated as a national triumph, demonstrating Egypt's ability to execute a major infrastructure project on an accelerated timeline, while other countries struggled with delayed megaprojects. The new Suez Canal fundamentally changed how the waterway operates. The parallel sections now allow ships to transit in both directions simultaneously, effectively doubling capacity in those stretches. Transit times dropped from 18 to 20 hours to 11 to 13 hours for a complete passage. The number of ships that could transit daily increased from 49 to 97, though actual daily traffic averages around 60 to 70 ships depending on global trade volumes. Economically, the results have been mixed. Egypt projected that canal revenues would increase to $13 billion annually by 2023, but actual revenues have grown more slowly, reaching around $9 to $10 billion by 2024. However, the project delivered benefits beyond just revenue. The faster transit times made the Suez more competitive against alternatives like the Cape of Good Hope route. The expanded capacity gave Egypt room to grow as global trade increases. The project also had unexpected benefits for Egypt's construction sector. The experience gained building the new Suez Canal on such an accelerated timeline has been applied to other megaprojects, including the new administrative capital and various road and bridge projects. The new Suez Canal remains one of the fastest megaprojects ever completed at this scale. Today, ships continue transiting the Suez Canal just as they have for over 150 years. But now they can pass each other in sections that were previously one-way bottlenecks. From Egypt, we move over to Dubai, to a megaproject that mimics the world map on an island. In 2010, Qatar won the bid to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup and immediately faced a massive problem. Their capital city had virtually no public transportation. Doha was a sprawling metropolis built entirely around cars, with highways crisscrossing in every direction, but almost no way for regular people to get around without driving. For a country about to welcome over 1 million football fans from around the world, that was a disaster waiting to happen. The answer was to build something Qatar had never had, a comprehensive metro system. The decision was made to construct the Doha Metro in time for the World Cup, giving Qatar just over a decade to plan, design, and build a network that most cities take 20 to 30 years to complete. The story of how Qatar built an entire metro system in less than a decade is one of ambition, engineering, and massive investment. The Doha Metro design includes 3 main lines: red, green, and gold, totaling 76 kilometers of track. The system is entirely driverless, with automated trains controlled by sophisticated computer systems. 37 stations were built for the initial phase, with designs ranging from relatively simple to architecturally spectacular. The stations at major venues and tourist areas feature dramatic designs with soaring ceilings, natural light, and artwork reflecting Qatari culture. Construction began in earnest in 2013 with multiple contractors working simultaneously on different sections. The scale of the operation was enormous. Tunnel boring machines carved out underground sections beneath Doha's urban areas, while elevated sections were constructed along highways and through less developed areas. The project required careful coordination. Utility lines had to be relocated, traffic had to be maintained during construction, and the various sections had to connect seamlessly. The tunneling work presented particular challenges. Doha sits on limestone bedrock, overlaid with softer sediments, making tunnel boring technically demanding. The tunnel boring machines had to be carefully calibrated to handle varying ground conditions. Water infiltration was a constant concern, requiring pumping and waterproofing measures. And the depth of the tunnels, some running 30 to 40 meters below ground, meant that excavating station areas required massive amounts of material removal. At peak construction, over 100,000 workers were employed on the Doha Metro project. This workforce came from dozens of countries, with significant numbers from India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and the Philippines. The working conditions became controversial, with international organizations and media outlets raising concerns about worker safety, living conditions, and labor rights. Qatar responded with reforms to labor laws and improvements to worker accommodations, though critics argued the changes were insufficient. The first sections of the Red Line opened in 2019, 3 years before the World Cup. This allowed testing and refinement of operations before the critical tournament period. The Gold Line followed in 2020, and the Green Line opened in phases through 2020 to 2021. By late 2021, the system was largely complete and undergoing extensive testing to ensure reliability during the World Cup. The investment required was staggering. The total cost reached approximately $36 billion, making it one of the most expensive metro systems per kilometer ever built. Several factors drove the high costs. The accelerated timeline required premium payments to contractors and suppliers. The driverless technology and advanced systems were expensive. The elaborate station designs cost far more than basic facilities, and the challenging ground conditions increased tunneling costs. During the 2022 World Cup, the metro proved its worth. Qatar's brand new system transported 18 million passengers between venues, hotels, and attractions. Trains arrived every 90 seconds during peak periods. 5 of the 8 World Cup stadiums had direct metro connections, allowing fans to travel between matches easily. The system handled massive surges. After major matches, tens of thousands of people would descend on stations simultaneously, and the metro managed these crowds with remarkable efficiency. But the World Cup was just the beginning. The metro now serves Doha's residents and continues attracting passengers as the city grows. The question now is whether the system can sustain ridership without the tournament to drive passenger numbers. Early indications are mixed. Daily ridership averages around 150 to 200,000 passengers. The challenge is that Doha remains car-centric, with most residents owning vehicles and preferring to drive rather than take public transportation. Qatar is addressing this by expanding the network. An additional 60 stations are planned for coming years, extending the existing lines and adding new routes to reach more neighborhoods and destinations. These expansions aim to make the metro convenient for a larger percentage of Doha's population, hopefully encouraging more people to leave their cars at home. The Lusail tram, a light rail system in the northern Lusail development, was also built in conjunction with the metro and connects to the Red Line. This extends the metro's reach and demonstrates Qatar's commitment to creating an integrated public transportation network. Bus routes have been redesigned to feed passengers to metro stations rather than duplicating routes, creating a hub-and-spoke system that maximizes the metro's utility. Trains now run from early morning until after midnight, with extended hours during major events. The system is monitored from a central control room where operators can intervene if problems arise, but day-to-day operations are largely automated. Maintenance is ongoing and extensive. A large depot facility handles train maintenance, repairs, and storage. Track sections are inspected regularly, with crews working during overnight hours when trains aren't running. Stations require constant cleaning and maintenance to keep them looking pristine. The air conditioning systems, in particular, require intensive maintenance given the extreme climate and the amount of dust that accumulates. The coming years will reveal whether the metro becomes an integral part of Doha life or remains underutilized infrastructure built primarily for a 4-week sporting event. While Qatar built infrastructure to support millions of visitors, Saudi Arabia is creating an entirely new destination that seems almost impossible: a winter resort where temperatures regularly exceed 40 degrees Celsius. Kuwait might be small in size, but it thinks big when it comes to architecture. The Hamra Tower in Kuwait City proves this point perfectly. At 413 meters tall, it's not only the tallest building in Kuwait, but also one of the most uniquely designed skyscrapers in the world. What makes Hamra Tower truly stand out is its distinctive shape. Unlike the typical rectangular or cylindrical forms that dominate most city skylines, Hamra Tower features a dramatic curved design with a massive carved-out section on its south face. This isn't just an aesthetic choice. The carved section serves a crucial functional purpose. Kuwait experiences intense desert heat, and by removing the south-facing portion of the building, the architects significantly reduced solar heat gain and the building's cooling requirements. It's a brilliant example of form following function while creating something visually spectacular. The tower's design was conceived by the renowned architectural firm Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, the same company behind many of the world's most famous super-tall buildings. They worked closely with Kuwaiti developers to create something that would become an instant landmark. The result is a tower that appears to twist and flow upward with a limestone and glass exterior that catches the light in constantly changing ways throughout the day. Construction on Hamra Tower began in 2005, but this wasn't a quick project. Building a structure this tall and complex in Kuwait's harsh climate presented numerous challenges. Summer temperatures regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius, making construction work difficult and requiring special concrete mixes and construction techniques. The foundation alone required extraordinary engineering, deep piles driven far into the ground to ensure stability in the sandy soil conditions common to the region. The tower finally topped out in 2009 and opened to the public in 2011, making it one of the first super-tall skyscrapers completed in the Middle East after the 2008 global financial crisis. The timing was significant. Many ambitious projects across the region had been delayed or canceled during the economic downturn, but Hamra Tower pushed through to completion. Inside, the tower houses a mix of uses spread across 80 floors. The lower levels contain a luxury shopping mall and restaurants, creating a vibrant ground-level experience. Office space occupies the middle floors, attracting major corporations and financial institutions. A 5-star hotel fills some of the upper levels, while luxury apartments crown the tower, offering residents some of the most exclusive addresses in Kuwait. At the time of its completion in 2011, the world's tallest sculpted tower had a total construction cost of close to $1 billion. The Hamra Tower held the title of world's tallest carved concrete skyscraper for several years after its completion, and it remains the tallest building with this type of architectural feature. The building has become so iconic that it's now featured on Kuwaiti currency and is instantly recognizable as a symbol of the nation's prosperity and forward-thinking approach to development. For visitors to Kuwait City, the tower dominates the waterfront skyline and serves as a navigational landmark, visible from almost anywhere in the city. At night, subtle lighting highlights the tower's unique curves, creating a stunning visual. Just a year after opening, Hamra Tower was surpassed in height when Dubai added yet another skyscraper to its rapidly developing skyline. From the air, it looks like someone tried to recreate planet Earth in miniature and dropped it just off Dubai's coast. The world is one of the most ambitious and troubled artificial island projects ever attempted. 300 islands arranged to form a map of the world, each island representing a different country or region. With an estimated total investment of $14 billion, the world was supposed to become the ultimate symbol of Dubai's ambition. Instead, it became a cautionary tale about what happens when ambition meets economic reality. The story of the world begins in the early 2000s during Dubai's unprecedented real estate boom. The Palm Jumeirah, Dubai's first artificial island project shaped like a palm tree, was already under construction and generating enormous excitement. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Dubai's ruler, wanted something even more spectacular. The idea emerged: create an archipelago of islands shaped like a world map, visible from space, where wealthy buyers could own their own private island country. Nakheel, the government-owned developer behind the Palm projects, received the contract to build the world. The project was announced in 2003 and immediately captured global attention. The concept was brilliantly simple and mind-bogglingly complex. Dredge sand from Dubai's shallow coastal waters and use it to create 300 islands arranged to match the continents, all contained within a 9-kilometer by 6-kilometer area. Each island would be sold to private buyers who could develop them however they wished: luxury resorts, private estates, entertainment venues, anything imaginable. Construction began in 2003 with a fleet of dredgers working around the clock. The process involved sucking sand from the seabed and spraying it into carefully designed shapes marked by GPS coordinates. Creating the world map required extraordinary precision. Each island had to be positioned exactly right for the overall shape to work. The islands ranged from 14,000 to 42,000 square meters, large enough for substantial development but small enough to maintain the world map appearance from above. By 2008, the islands were complete. Aerial photographs showed a clearly recognizable world map floating in the Persian Gulf. Nakheel had succeeded in creating a world map from 321 million cubic feet of sand. Protective breakwaters surrounded the archipelago to prevent erosion, and channels between islands allowed boat access. Nakheel began selling islands, with prices ranging from $15 million to $45 million, depending on size and location. The company projected that all islands would be sold within months. Initial sales were strong. Richard Branson's Virgin Group purchased Great Britain. Investors from around the world lined up to buy their dream islands. Development plans included a luxury resort on Antarctica, private celebrity estates on various European islands, and an Africa-themed entertainment complex. Dubai's real estate market was at its absolute peak, with property values doubling every year. Nothing seemed impossible. Then came 2008. The global financial crisis hit Dubai's real estate market like a tsunami. Property values collapsed overnight. Credit dried up completely. Investors who had committed to purchase islands suddenly couldn't secure financing. Development projects that existed only on paper were abandoned. Nakheel itself faced financial collapse and had to be bailed out by the Abu Dhabi government. The world became a ghost archipelago. Of 300 islands, only a handful saw any development. The rest sat empty, barren sand islands slowly eroding under the waves. The protective breakwaters proved insufficient to prevent natural forces from reshaping the islands. Aerial photographs from 2010 showed the islands already losing definition, with channels between islands filling with sediment and island shapes becoming less distinct. The problems went beyond just economics. Environmental concerns emerged about the project's impact on marine ecosystems. The massive dredging operations had disturbed seabeds and altered coastal water flows. Some marine species that once thrived in the area disappeared. Water quality between the islands deteriorated as circulation decreased. Critics who had been silenced during the boom years now questioned whether such massive artificial island projects were sustainable or advisable. Yet the world didn't die completely. A few islands actually were developed. Lebanon Island features a private beach club. Sweden Island has luxury villas. The Heart of Europe project, a cluster of islands designed to resemble European destinations, actually proceeded with development and opened phases, including islands themed after Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, and Monaco. These developed islands demonstrate what the world could have become if the financial crisis hadn't intervened. Starting around 2015, as Dubai's economy recovered, there were renewed efforts to revive the world. Nakheel invested in strengthening the breakwaters and conducting maintenance on the undeveloped islands to prevent further erosion. New sales efforts began, though actual construction remained limited. The challenge is that developing a private island is extraordinarily expensive. Beyond the purchase price, owners must build all infrastructure from scratch: power generation, water desalination, sewage treatment, boat docks, and whatever buildings and facilities they envision. There's no shared infrastructure. Each island is entirely self-contained. This makes even modest development cost tens of millions of dollars, putting it beyond all but the wealthiest buyers. And those buyers increasingly have other options. Dubai's real estate market has matured with plenty of ultra-luxury alternatives that don't require building from nothing. As of 2026, the world remains a peculiar mix of ambition and abandonment. Aerial photos show the world map is still recognizable, though less defined than when first built. 10 to 15% of islands show signs of development or active construction. The rest sit empty, waiting for buyers who may never come. The total investment in the world is estimated at $14 billion, including the initial construction, ongoing maintenance, the developed islands, and infrastructure. This makes it one of the most expensive real estate developments in history relative to what actually exists. Today, the world stands as a monument to a specific moment in Dubai's history, the mid-2000s, when anything seemed possible and no project was too ambitious. Whether it will ever be fully developed as originally envisioned remains doubtful. On the 4th of October 2022, the Olympic Council of Asia announced Saudi Arabia as the host for the 2029 Asian Winter Games. An announcement that doesn't make any sense when you think of Saudi Arabia's desert terrain. It sounds absurd, yet Saudi Arabia claimed the country was ready because they were preparing to deliver with Trojena, a $38 billion mountain resort in a country where most people have never seen snow. Trojena is part of NEOM, the massive $500 billion development in northwestern Saudi Arabia. But while NEOM's other components, like the line, generate headlines, Trojena might be the most technically challenging piece of the entire project. The site they selected sits high in the Sarawat Mountains in northwestern Saudi Arabia. It does get cold in winter, with temperatures occasionally dropping below freezing. Natural snow does fall, just not reliably or in large quantities. Engineers proposed building massive snowmaking facilities that could create artificial powder even when temperatures hovered above zero. The next steps would be to build ski slopes with real and artificial snow, luxury hotels, an artificial lake, outdoor adventure activities, and a vertical village built into the mountainside. Construction officially began in 2022, and Saudi Arabia had 7 years to deliver an unprecedented ski destination. However, the challenges started mounting immediately. The area is remote, accessible only by rough mountain roads, with no existing infrastructure. Before any resort facilities could be built, contractors needed to construct access roads capable of handling heavy equipment, establish worker camps to house thousands of construction workers, and create utility systems including water, electricity, and waste management. The ski slopes represent perhaps the most technically ambitious element. While the mountains provide natural terrain, the climate means that maintaining snow requires massive artificial snowmaking systems. These systems will use millions of liters of desalinated water pumped from the Red Sea coast, over 100 kilometers away and more than 2,000 meters lower in elevation. The water will be converted to snow using industrial snow machines, similar to those used at ski resorts worldwide, but on a scale never before attempted in such an arid climate. Energy requirements for Trojena are staggering. The snowmaking systems alone will consume enormous electricity. Air conditioning for buildings in summer, even at altitude, temperatures can reach 30 degrees Celsius, will require massive power. Saudi Arabia plans to power Trojena primarily through renewable energy, including solar farms in the surrounding desert and possibly wind turbines in the mountains. But these renewable sources can't provide reliable power year-round in an impossible terrain. By 2024, the project was already facing significant delays. The scale of engineering required proved even more complex than initial estimates. Getting equipment and materials to such a remote mountain location was a logistical nightmare. And most importantly, the financial reality of spending $38 billion on a ski resort that would only be usable a few months per year started to sink in. Saudi Arabia had submitted their bid to host the 2030 Winter Olympics, hoping that Trojena would be the centerpiece venue. But by 2025, the International Olympic Committee had a decision to make. Earlier this year, Saudi Arabia admitted that it will be next to impossible to get Trojena ready in time for the Winter Games. They asked OCA for 2 more years to be ready. However, the Games were awarded to Almaty, Kazakhstan, a city with actual natural snow, existing ski infrastructure, and winter sports tradition dating back decades. As of early 2026, construction progress is visible, but far from complete. Road access to the site has been improved, worker accommodations have been established, and initial site work is underway. However, the vertical construction of hotels and facilities is only beginning. The ski infrastructure, including the snowmaking systems, chairlifts, and slope preparation, remains in early stages. The Saudi government insists the project will continue, but the timeline has become much more vague. Without the Olympic deadline driving urgency, construction has slowed. The resort might still be built eventually, but it will probably look very different from the original vision. Instead of an Olympic venue, it might become a luxury destination for wealthy Gulf residents who want to experience snow without flying to Europe. What we can get could be similar to Dubai's indoor ski slopes. From failed Olympic dreams in the Saudi mountains, we head to Qatar, where a similar massive vision actually succeeded. Dubai's Marina district has become home to some of the world's most impressive residential skyscrapers, and for several years, the Princess Tower held the crown as the absolute tallest of them all. Rising to 414 meters across 101 floors, Princess Tower claimed the record as the world's tallest residential building when it was completed in 2012. It held this title for 4 years, until it was surpassed by another residential tower in the same neighborhood, a testament to Dubai's relentless push to build higher and more luxurious with each new project. The tower's design is sleek and modern, with a cylindrical form that maximizes the number of units with coveted water views of the Arabian Gulf. The exterior features alternating bands of glass and white panels, giving the building a distinctive appearance that stands out even in Dubai Marina's crowded skyline. The tower tapers slightly as it rises, which not only creates visual interest but also helps with wind resistance at such extreme heights. Princess Tower was developed by Tamir Holding Investment, a Dubai-based company that specializes in luxury real estate. The project was announced in 2005 during the height of Dubai's pre-financial crisis building boom. Construction began in 2006, and remarkably, the tower was completed and ready for occupancy by 2012, just 6 years from start to finish, which is impressively fast for a building of this height and complexity. The tower contains 763 residential units ranging from studio apartments to 4-bedroom penthouses. Every unit was designed with luxury in mind, featuring high-end finishes, floor-to-ceiling windows, and spacious balconies. The penthouses at the top of the tower are particularly spectacular, with double-height ceilings and wraparound terraces offering 360-degree views of the Marina, the Palm Jumeirah, and the Arabian Gulf. With a construction cost of approximately $2.17 billion, it is no surprise that residents of Princess Tower enjoy access to extensive amenities spread across multiple levels. There's a state-of-the-art fitness center, swimming pools, steam rooms, and saunas. Children have dedicated play areas, while adults can use the business center or relax in landscaped gardens at the podium level. The building also features 24-hour security and concierge services, meeting the expectations of its wealthy international residents. The tower's location in Dubai Marina is a major selling point. The Marina is one of Dubai's most desirable neighborhoods, with a vibrant waterfront promenade lined with restaurants, cafes, and shops. Residents can walk to the beach, take boat tours from the marina, or simply enjoy the lively atmosphere of this purpose-built community that didn't even exist 20 years ago. One interesting aspect of Princess Tower's story is how it represents a specific moment in Dubai's development. The building was conceived during the boom years when it seemed like Dubai's growth would never slow down. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, many similar projects were delayed or canceled, but Princess Tower's construction continued. The developers pushed forward, and their bet paid off. By the time the tower was completed, Dubai's real estate market was recovering, and there was strong demand for luxury residential space. Living in Princess Tower comes with a hefty price tag. Units have sold for millions of dollars, with penthouse prices reaching into the tens of millions. Even though Princess Tower remains one of Dubai Marina's most recognizable landmarks, it has since been surpassed in height just a few blocks away. The story of Etihad Rail begins with a problem. The UAE's 7 emirates, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, Al Quwain, Ras Al Khaimah, and Fujairah, were connected only by highways that were becoming increasingly congested. Millions of people drive daily between emirates for work, with the Abu Dhabi-Dubai corridor alone seeing over 350,000 daily commuters. Freight trucks clog the highways, carrying everything from construction materials to consumer goods between ports and cities. The UAE needed a solution that could handle both passengers and cargo efficiently. The concept of a national rail network had been discussed since the 1990s, but serious planning began in 2008. The UAE government recognized that its Gulf neighbors, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and others, were developing rail networks, and the long-term vision included connecting these networks into a Gulf-wide system. In 2009, the UAE established Etihad Rail as a government company specifically to develop, construct, and operate the national railway network. The project was designed in 3 phases. Phase 1 would focus on freight, connecting the Shah and Habshan gas fields in Abu Dhabi's interior to the port at Ruwais. Phase 2 would extend the network to connect all 7 emirates, linking Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and the Northern Emirates. Phase 3 would extend to the Saudi Arabian border in the west and the Omani border in the east, enabling international connections. The total network would span approximately 1,200 kilometers, with 900+ kilometers of new track and connections to existing infrastructure. Construction on Phase 1 began in 2010, focusing on the 264-kilometer freight line. This was a practical starting point. The UAE's oil and gas industry needed efficient transport for sulfur granules produced as a byproduct of gas processing. Trucks were expensive, slow, and environmentally problematic. A dedicated freight railway could move massive quantities more efficiently. Phase 1 was completed in 2016 and immediately began operations. But Phase 2 represented real ambition. This 605-kilometer section would connect Abu Dhabi to Dubai and to the Northern Emirates, including both freight and passenger service. Planning and design work for Phase 2 took years, as the route needed to navigate through existing urban areas, cross challenging terrain, and connect to ports, airports, and industrial zones. The final route was optimized to serve both freight customers and future passenger traffic while minimizing environmental impact and land acquisition challenges. Construction on Phase 2 officially began in 2018, with multiple contractors working on different sections simultaneously. The scale of the work is enormous. The route requires over 50 bridges, several tunnels through mountains, and careful navigation through environmentally sensitive areas. The track is being built to handle both passenger trains traveling at up to 200 kilometers per hour and heavy freight trains carrying containers and bulk cargo. By 2022, significant progress was visible across the network. The section connecting Abu Dhabi to Dubai was taking shape, with bridges rising across wadis and highways. In the Northern Emirates, track laying was underway. The Fujairah connection, which requires tunneling through the Hajar Mountains, presented particular engineering challenges, with workers boring through solid rock to create passages for the trains. As of early 2026, Etihad Rail has announced that Phase 2 is approximately 85 to 90% complete, with the first passenger services targeted to begin later in 2026. The freight network is already operational on completed sections, with trains moving containers between industrial areas and ports. The final track connections, signaling systems, and station construction are ongoing, with the full network scheduled for completion and passenger operation by late 2026 or early 2027. The passenger service will connect 11 cities across the UAE. Trains will travel at speeds up to 200 kilometers per hour, cutting the Abu Dhabi to Dubai journey to about 50 minutes compared to 90+ minutes by car during typical traffic. The Abu Dhabi to Fujairah route, which currently takes 2+ hours by car through mountain roads, will take about 100 minutes by train. Stations in major cities like Abu Dhabi and Dubai are being designed as architectural landmarks with modern facilities including business lounges, shopping areas, and seamless connections to other transportation modes like metros and buses. The goal is to make train travel the preferred option rather than just an alternative. For daily commuters, business travelers, and tourists, this represents a dramatic improvement in travel times and comfort. Etihad Rail has projected that by 2030, the network will handle 36.5 million passengers annually. The project will also handle significant freight volumes, potentially moving 60+ million tons of cargo annually, reducing the number of trucks on UAE highways and cutting transportation emissions. The $14 billion total cost makes this one of the UAE's largest infrastructure investments, but its impact outweighs the financial toll. When Etihad Rail begins full passenger operations in 2026 to 2027, it will be the first time in the nation's history that people can travel between Emirates by train. For a country built on automobiles and highways, this represents a fundamental shift in transportation culture. The completion of Etihad Rail will also enable the broader GCC Railway project, which envisions connecting all 6 Gulf Cooperation Council countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Oman, into a single 2,000+ kilometer network. This would allow someone to board a train in Kuwait City and travel to Muscat, Oman, passing through multiple countries. Speaking of Oman, let's move to a mega project in the middle of nowhere that has attracted controversy and profitability in equal measure. The world watched as Argentina defeated France in the World Cup final in 2022. It was one of the more successful World Cup events in history, but the city where the final was held did not exist a decade ago. Lusail City, built from barren coastal land north of Doha at a cost of $45 billion, represents one of the most ambitious planned city projects ever attempted. And the 2022 World Cup final was both its global debut and its ultimate test. In the early 2000s, Qatar was experiencing rapid population growth and Doha was expanding in every direction. The government recognized that simply allowing unplanned sprawl would create the traffic congestion, infrastructure problems, and chaotic development that plagued many Gulf cities. The solution was to plan and build an entirely new city from scratch. The location chosen was a stretch of coastline about 15 kilometers north of central Doha, close enough to the capital while being separate enough to develop independently. A blank canvas where planners could create whatever they envisioned without constraints from existing development. Planning for Lusail City began in 2005, and the first thing workers had to do was literally create land. Much of Lusail sits on reclaimed coastline, meaning millions of tons of sand and rock had to be dredged from the seafloor and compacted into a foundation stable enough for skyscrapers. This process alone took years and consumed a significant chunk of the budget. Then, in 2010, Qatar won the right to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup, and Lusail's development suddenly gained both urgency and a clear focal point. The decision was made to build the 80,000-seat Lusail Stadium as the centerpiece of the new city. Construction on the newly reclaimed land began in 2011 with massive infrastructure work. This meant laying hundreds of kilometers of pipes, cables, and conduits before a single building could be constructed. The scale of earthwork and land preparation was enormous. The coastal areas required extensive reclamation work, with sand dredged from offshore and used to create new land and shape the waterfront. Marina developments demanded excavation of channels and harbors. The road network, designed for a city of hundreds of thousands, had to be built while the city was still empty, creating the site of multi-lane highways leading nowhere. Lusail Stadium itself began construction in 2017. The design featured a distinctive bowl shape covered by a golden facade inspired by traditional Arab bowls and vessels. The roof structure used advanced engineering to create shade while allowing airflow, essential in Qatar's climate. The stadium was designed to be modular. After the World Cup, the upper tier of seating could be removed, and the stadium downsized to better match expected post-tournament usage. Simultaneously, residential and commercial development proceeded across different districts of Lusail. The waterfront areas saw construction of luxury apartments and penthouses with marina views. The Energy City district was developed as a business hub, with office towers housing energy companies and related industries. The Entertainment City district included shopping malls, restaurants, and leisure facilities. Each district had its own character, while fitting into the overall city plan. It was all connected through the Lusail Light Rail Transit System, a modern tram network that linked to the Doha Metro. The $45 billion total investment makes Lusail one of the most expensive planned city projects in history. This figure includes all infrastructure, the stadium and sports facilities, commercial and residential construction, the tram system, parks and public spaces, and the innumerable supporting systems needed for a functioning city. The funding came primarily from the Qatari government through various state-owned companies and investment vehicles. The workforce required to build Lusail at peak construction numbered in the tens of thousands. Workers came from across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, living in purpose-built labor camps on the outskirts of the development. The working conditions and labor rights became a source of international controversy, with human rights organizations documenting issues including wage theft, dangerous working conditions, and restrictions on workers' freedom of movement. Qatar implemented labor reforms in response, though critics argued the changes were insufficient and came too late for workers who had already suffered. As the 2022 World Cup approached, construction intensified. The final months before the tournament saw round-the-clock construction work to meet deadlines. The stadium performed flawlessly, hosting multiple matches including the final watched by billions globally. The tram system transported fans efficiently between the stadium, hotels, and other city areas. However, the city felt empty outside match days. Many buildings were completed but not yet occupied, creating a sense of a stage set rather than a living city. Post-World Cup, Lusail faces its real test, becoming an actual city where people want to live and work. The population is growing as residents move into completed apartments and commercial tenants occupy office buildings. But progress is gradual. The challenge is that Lusail must compete with established Doha neighborhoods that have organic character, established communities, and the vibrancy that comes from decades of development. The Lusail Stadium itself underwent the planned downsizing after the World Cup, with the upper tier removed to reduce capacity to around 40,000. The question now is what will fill those seats. Qatar's domestic football league doesn't draw massive crowds, and while the stadium can host other events, keeping it utilized year-round is challenging. Maintaining a modern city in Qatar's extreme climate requires enormous energy and water resources regardless of efficiency measures. As of 2026, Lusail exists in a transitional state. It's no longer a construction site, but it's not yet the thriving city of 450,000 residents that was envisioned. The current population is estimated at 70,000 residents, far behind the target. The city has the infrastructure, buildings, and systems to support far more people. What it needs now is the organic growth, economic activity, and community development that makes a collection of buildings into a real city. Qatar is continuing to invest in Lusail's development, with new projects announced regularly. Additional residential buildings are under construction. The government is actively marketing Lusail to international businesses and wealthy individuals as a premium address. The $45 billion question is whether that transformation will occur. Will Lusail eventually fill with residents and become an integral part of Greater Doha? The answer will become clear over the next decade. If Lusail represents building an entire city for a sporting event, our next project takes urban ambition to an entirely different level. A building so massive, it could house 20 Empire State Buildings inside it. Dubai. Marina's skyline just keeps getting more impressive, and Marina 101 is another perfect example of the neighborhood's vertical ambitions. At 425 meters tall across 101 floors, this residential tower briefly competed for the title of world's tallest residential building. Marina 101 was developed by Sheffield Holdings, a Dubai-based property developer known for ambitious projects. The tower was designed to be a statement piece, not just tall, but architecturally distinctive, with a twisted form that makes it stand out even in a forest of super tall buildings. The twisting design isn't purely aesthetic. It helps reduce wind loads on the building and creates unique floor plates that vary as you move up the tower. Construction began in 2006 during Dubai's unprecedented building boom. The project was extremely ambitious from the start, with plans for over 500 luxury apartments and penthouses. The foundation work alone was a massive undertaking, requiring deep pilings to ensure stability in Dubai's sandy soil conditions. The tower's structural system uses reinforced concrete with an innovative design that allows for the dramatic twist while maintaining structural integrity at extreme heights. However, Marina 101's journey to completion was anything but smooth. The 2008 global financial crisis hit Dubai's real estate market particularly hard, and Marina 101 was one of many projects that faced serious delays. Construction slowed dramatically and eventually stopped entirely for a period as financing issues were resolved and market conditions stabilized. The tower sat partially completed for several years, its skeleton rising above Dubai Marina as a reminder of the boom and bust cycle that had gripped the city. During this time, there was genuine uncertainty about whether the project would ever be finished. Some observers speculated it might be abandoned entirely, but the developers remained committed to seeing it through. Construction finally resumed in earnest in 2013 as Dubai's economy recovered and confidence returned to the real estate market. Work proceeded at a much faster pace during this second phase, and the tower finally topped out in 2015. However, finishing work on the interior and amenities took additional time, and Marina 101 didn't officially open until 2017, a full 11 years after construction first began. Despite the delays, the finished product is impressive. Marina 101 offers residents some of the most luxurious living spaces in Dubai. The apartments feature premium finishes, smart home technology, and expansive windows that take full advantage of the tower's height. The building's twist means that no two floor plans are exactly identical, giving each residence a unique character. The amenities in Marina 101 are extensive. There are multiple swimming pools, including an infinity pool with stunning marina views. The fitness facilities are state-of-the-art, with separate areas for cardio, weights, and group fitness classes. There's also a spa, kids' play areas, and beautifully landscaped podium gardens. For entertaining, residents can use private lounges and dining areas, while a business center provides space for those who work from home. One unique feature of Marina 101 is its rooftop observation deck, one of the highest in Dubai Marina. While not open to the public, residents and their guests can access this space to enjoy unparalleled views of the entire Marina district, the Palm Jumeirah, and the Arabian Gulf stretching to the horizon. The tower's location is prime real estate. Dubai Marina is one of the city's most successful master-planned communities, with a kilometer-long waterfront promenade that's lined with restaurants, cafes, and retail shops. The Marina Walk has become one of Dubai's most popular social destinations, where residents and tourists alike come to dine, shop, and enjoy the waterfront atmosphere. Marina 101's completion in 2017 marked an important milestone for Dubai's real estate market. It proved that even projects facing severe setbacks during the financial crisis could be successfully completed and find buyers in a recovered market. Today, apartments in Marina 101 command premium prices, with larger units selling for several $1 million. What began as a boom-time project that faced near abandonment ultimately became another jewel in Dubai Marina's crown, adding to the concentration of super-tall residential buildings that make this neighborhood unique in the world. However, the next skyscraper on our list will blow away Marina 101, with the height difference of over 100 meters. In the remote coastal town of Duqm, Oman, something extraordinary is taking shape. A $10 billion oil refinery complex that represents one of the largest industrial investments in Omani history. But what makes this story fascinating isn't just the scale. It's why Oman is building a massive refinery at a time when the world is supposedly moving away from fossil fuels, and why they chose to build it in the middle of nowhere. Oman has been an oil producer since the 1960s, but unlike its Gulf neighbors with their massive reserves, Oman's oil fields are modest. The country produces about 1 million barrels per day, enough to generate significant revenue, but not enough to guarantee prosperity for generations. Omani officials recognized decades ago that the oil wouldn't last forever, and the country needed to extract maximum value from every barrel. The solution: instead of just pumping crude oil and selling it, refine it into high-value products like gasoline, diesel, and petrochemicals that command much higher prices. The Duqm refinery project was conceived in the early 2000s as part of Oman's broader economic diversification strategy. The location choice: Duqm is 550 kilometers south of Muscat, far from Oman's main population centers and oil fields. But the location is actually strategic. The town sits on the Arabian Sea, outside the Strait of Hormuz, where a significant portion of the world's oil passes and where geopolitical tensions periodically flare. A refinery at Duqm can receive crude oil and export products without depending on Hormuz access. Moreover, Oman envisioned transforming Duqm into a major industrial hub. The government had already designated it as a special economic zone with tax incentives and streamlined regulations to attract investment. A world-class refinery would anchor industrial development, attracting related industries and supporting infrastructure. The original budget was set at approximately $6 billion when the project was approved in 2013, but this would prove wildly optimistic. Construction began in 2014 with extensive site preparation. The coastal location required building port facilities to receive crude oil deliveries and export refined products. The refinery complex itself would sprawl across several square kilometers, requiring massive earthworks to level the site and create foundations capable of supporting enormous processing units. Initial work focused on creating the basic infrastructure: roads, utilities, temporary housing for workers, and the port facilities. The refinery's design incorporated the latest technology to process both Omani crude and crude oil from other sources, making it capable of refining 230,000 barrels per day. More importantly, it was designed as a complex refinery with sophisticated processing units that could convert heavy crude oil into high-value light products. This flexibility means the refinery can process whatever crude oil is cheapest or most available, maximizing profitability. Construction ramped up in 2015 to 2016, with thousands of workers arriving at the remote site. At peak construction, over 20,000 people were working on the project, making it one of the largest construction sites in Oman. But problems emerged almost immediately. The remote location that offered strategic advantages created massive logistical challenges. Everything, from massive process towers to basic construction materials, had to be transported to Duqm. The nearest major port was hundreds of kilometers away. Building temporary housing and facilities for 20,000 workers in a town that previously had a population of a few thousand required essentially creating a new city. Technical challenges multiplied. Some of the refinery's processing units are among the largest ever built, requiring precision manufacturing and assembly. The coastal environment meant constant exposure to salt air that could corrode equipment. The extreme heat of Oman's summers, temperatures regularly exceed 45 degrees Celsius, made construction work brutally difficult and required special considerations for equipment that would operate in these conditions. By 2017, it was clear the original budget and timeline were unrealistic. the budget was revised upward to approximately $7 billion, then $8 billion, and eventually reached estimates of $10 billion. The completion date, originally set for 2017, was pushed to 2018, then 2020, then 2022. These delays and cost overruns are common in megaprojects, but the scale was still shocking. Several factors drove the cost increases. Global oil prices collapsed in 2014 to 2016, forcing Oman to secure additional financing under less favorable terms. Design changes were required as environmental regulations evolved. The sheer complexity of building such sophisticated infrastructure in a remote location proved more expensive than anticipated. And like virtually every megaproject globally, coordination among multiple contractors, suppliers, and stakeholders created inefficiencies and delays. The refinery finally began operations in 2023, nearly a decade after construction began, and 6 years behind the original schedule. The first crude oil was processed, and refined products began flowing. This marked a major milestone for Oman, representing the culmination of years of planning and construction. But starting operations doesn't mean the project is complete. As of early 2026, expansion and optimization work continues. Additional processing units are being commissioned, bringing the refinery toward its full design capacity. The integration of all systems, from crude oil receipt to product export, is being fine-tuned. The workforce is being trained to operate this complex facility efficiently and safely. The economics of the Duqm refinery are complex. At $10 billion, the capital cost is enormous, and generating returns that justify this investment will take decades. However, Oman's calculation isn't purely about financial returns. The refinery provides Oman with energy security. The country can now produce its own gasoline, diesel, and other petroleum products rather than importing them. It adds value to Omani crude oil, increasing revenue compared to simply exporting crude. The Duqm refinery has catalyzed broader development in the region. It has attracted other investors, including a Chinese industrial park, dry dock facilities, and plans for a petrochemical complex. The town of Duqm has been transformed from a fishing village into an emerging industrial city with modern housing, schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. Whether this development is sustainable, long-term remains uncertain, but the transformation is undeniable. In response to environmental criticism, Oman's position is pragmatic. The world will continue using petroleum products for decades, and Omani oil will be extracted and refined regardless. Better that it happens in a modern, efficient facility in Oman rather than being exported as crude oil for refining elsewhere. The Duqm refinery represents Oman's bet on an industrial future. At over $10 billion, it is one of the largest investments in Omani history. Over the next decade, it will either become a model of successful economic diversification or a cautionary tale about the risks of massive industrial megaprojects in an uncertain energy future. The idea for the Cube is a building so large that if you placed it in Manhattan, it would dominate the skyline, not through height, but through sheer volume. Officially called Mukaab, this is Saudi Arabia's $50 billion plan to build the most ambitious urban structure ever. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has a habit of announcing mega projects that sound like they were designed by a committee of science fiction writers who were given unlimited budgets and told to go wild. But even by those standards, the Cube stands out as particularly insane. Picture a building in the shape of a perfect cube, each side measuring 400 meters. That's roughly the height of the Empire State Building, except instead of a tower pointing skyward, imagine that same mass compressed into a cube. The structure would contain 2 million square meters of floor space, comparable to the entire Pentagon, making it one of the largest buildings by volume ever conceived. The Cube would sit in Riyadh's New Murabba district, serving as the centerpiece of a development that would add 19 square kilometers to the Saudi capital. The building's exterior would feature triangular windows, creating a fractured gold appearance, designed to shimmer in the desert sun. Inside, the plans call for luxury apartments, hotels, shopping areas, entertainment venues, and something called an immersive experiential platform, which appears to be marketing speak for, "We're not entirely sure yet, but it'll be expensive." The most striking feature of the cube would be its central atrium, a massive hollow space at the building's core, creating what architects call a vertical neighborhood. Residents could look down into this void from their apartments, with the bottom serving as a public space featuring suspended gardens and entertainment areas. It's like taking a city square and rotating it 90 degrees. The engineering challenges of building such a structure are mind-boggling. A 400-meter cube doesn't follow traditional building physics. Normal skyscrapers are designed to sway in the wind, flexing slightly to absorb stress. But a cube has different structural requirements. The massive flat surfaces would catch wind like a sail, creating enormous lateral forces. The corners would need reinforcement beyond anything used in conventional construction. And that hollow center? It creates load distribution problems that engineers are still trying to solve. Then there's the practical question: why? What functional purpose does a cube shape serve beyond looking interesting? Traditional skyscrapers are tall and narrow because that maximizes rentable space while minimizing the building's footprint. A cube does the opposite. It's incredibly inefficient from a real estate perspective, with much of the interior far from natural light or exterior views. The middle floors, sitting hundreds of meters from any window, would be completely reliant on artificial lighting and ventilation. Saudi Arabia claims the cube represents the future of urban architecture, a way to create vertical density while maintaining community spaces. But critics point out that nobody has ever successfully built a structure like this before because the design fundamentally doesn't work for how humans actually use buildings. We like windows. We like knowing which direction is outside. We don't particularly enjoy being in the middle of a massive cube where every direction looks the same. The $50 billion budget seems pulled from thin air. Most construction experts who've analyzed the project estimate the real cost would be significantly higher, potentially double or triple the announced figure. Building a structure this unique means custom engineering nearly every component. There are no off-the-shelf solutions for 400-meter cube corner reinforcement or suspended garden system in a hollow core megastructure. Every single element would need to be designed, tested, and manufactured specifically for this project. Construction was supposed to begin in 2023, with completion targeted for 2030 as part of Saudi Vision 2030. But as of 2024, there's been no groundbreaking, no visible progress, and increasingly vague statements from Saudi officials about timelines. The project appears to be stuck in the planning phase, with engineers still trying to figure out how to actually build the thing. Will the cube ever be built? Probably not as currently designed. Saudi Arabia has a pattern of announcing spectacular megaprojects with huge fanfare, then quietly scaling them back or canceling them when reality intrudes. The cube will likely go the same way. Perhaps a much smaller version gets built eventually, or the design gets modified into something more conventional, or it just fades away entirely. But in a strange way, that doesn't matter. The cube was never really about creating functional architecture. It was about generating headlines, about making the world talk about Saudi Arabia as a place of innovation and ambition. In that goal, it absolutely succeeded. We're sitting here discussing a building that doesn't exist and probably never will. And that's exactly what Mohammed bin Salman wanted. The cube represents the purest form of megaproject as propaganda. The design is the message, and whether it actually gets built is almost beside the point. Saudi Arabia wants to be seen as a country building the future, even if that future is physically impossible. From imaginary cubes in Riyadh, we head to Egypt, where another mega capital city is actually taking shape. Burj Binghatti is a record-setting hyper tower under construction in Dubai's Business Bay. It is projected to be one of the world's tallest residential buildings, rising over 100 floors and a minimum height of 557 meters. The project is a collaboration between Binghatti developers, one of Dubai's most innovative property companies, and Jacob & Co., the legendary luxury watch manufacturer known for creating some of the world's most complicated and expensive timepieces. This partnership might seem unusual at first, but it makes perfect sense in Dubai's luxury market, where the ultra-wealthy seek unique properties that make a statement. The tower's design is directly inspired by Jacob & Co.'s intricate watch movements and jewelry designs. The facade incorporates geometric patterns and precious metal finishes that echo the craftsmanship of fine watchmaking. The building's crown features a design element that resembles a luxury watch's bezel, while the overall form suggests the elegant curves of high-end jewelry. Its architecture is wearable art translated into a residential tower. Construction is currently underway in Business Bay, one of Dubai's premier business and residential districts. The location was chosen strategically. Business Bay sits along the Dubai Water Canal and offers stunning views of the Burj Khalifa and downtown Dubai. It's a neighborhood that has rapidly transformed from a primarily commercial area into a mixed-use district with increasingly impressive residential towers. The residences themselves are designed to match the exclusivity of the building's exterior. Each unit will feature custom finishes, smart home technology, and details inspired by luxury watchmaking. Some residences will include display cases specifically designed to showcase watch collections, acknowledging that many buyers will be serious collectors. The penthouses will feature private elevators, spa-like bathrooms, and terraces with outdoor kitchens. What's particularly innovative about this project is how it integrates the Jacob & Co. brand throughout the building. There will be a Jacob & Co. boutique in the tower, where residents and visitors can view and purchase the brand's latest creations. Private viewing rooms will allow serious collectors to examine pieces in a secure, luxurious environment. There's even discussion of creating a watchmaking atelier within the tower where craftsmen can work and residents can watch intricate movements being assembled. The amenities in Burj Binghatti, Jacob & Co. residences aim to match the building's luxurious positioning. Multiple pools will offer different experiences: an infinity edge pool for swimming, a social pool for gathering, and a quiet pool for relaxation. Security and privacy are paramount in a building targeting ultra-high net worth individuals. The tower will feature advanced security systems, private residential elevators that only access specific floors, and a discrete entrance separate from the retail and amenity areas. Concierge staff will be trained to the highest standards of service, essentially providing 5-star hotel service to residents. The project is expected to be completed in 2026, and pre-sales have been strong despite premium pricing. This reflects Dubai's continued appeal to wealthy international buyers who see the city as both an investment opportunity and a luxurious place to live or maintain a residence. Burj Binghatti, Jacob & Co. residences represent something beyond just another luxury tower. It's an experiment in branded real estate where a high-end consumer brand lends its identity and philosophy to a residential development. If successful, it could inspire similar collaborations between luxury brands and developers, creating buildings that are as much about identity and lifestyle as they are about location and square footage. In a city known for pushing boundaries, this tower pushes into entirely new territory, architecture that you can almost imagine strapping to your wrist. But now, we move to another part of the Arabian desert, with the first mega-tall building on our list. The Palm Jebel Ali is Dubai's third and largest palm-shaped island project, dwarfing even the famous Palm Jumeirah. With an estimated cost of $20 billion, Palm Jebel Ali represents Dubai's continued faith in artificial island development, despite lessons learned from partially failed projects like The World. The story of Palm Jebel Ali begins with the massive success of Palm Jumeirah, Dubai's first artificial palm island completed in the mid-2000s. Palm Jumeirah became an iconic address, home to luxury hotels like Atlantis the Palm, thousands of beachfront villas and apartments, and some of Dubai's most expensive real estate. The palm shape was visible from space. Property values soared, and Dubai gained global recognition for audacious engineering. Encouraged by this success, Nakheel announced not one but 2 additional palm islands. Palm Jebel Ali would be built in the Jebel Ali area of Dubai, further south along the coast. Palm Dira would be constructed off the Dira district in northern Dubai. Together with Palm Jumeirah, these three islands would form a trio of palm-shaped developments that would define Dubai's coastline. Palm Jebel Ali was designed to be 50% larger than Palm Jumeirah, with a more complex structure. The design included the traditional palm trunk and fronds, but added additional features including water homes built on stilts, canals running through the development, and an 8-kilometer bridge connecting the island to the mainland. The project would create waterfront property for luxury villas, apartments, hotels, and entertainment venues. Construction began in 2002, shortly after Palm Jumeirah was underway. Dredging operations commenced, with ships sucking sand from the Gulf seabed and spraying it into carefully designed shapes. By 2007, the basic island shape was complete. Aerial photographs showed the distinctive palm outline emerging from the water. Breakwaters were constructed to protect the island from erosion. Infrastructure work began on the trunk section, including roads and utilities. The global financial crisis then devastated Dubai's real estate market, and Nakheel, the developer behind all three Palm Islands, faced financial collapse. Dubai's government had to orchestrate a bailout, and Nakheel's projects were reassessed. Palm Jebel Ali was put on hold. The island sat mostly complete in terms of land reclamation, but undeveloped, waiting for better economic conditions. For over a decade, Palm Jebel Ali remained in limbo. Aerial photographs from the 2000s showed the island's shape deteriorating slightly as erosion affected unprotected sections. The breakwaters required maintenance that wasn't always performed. The island became a curiosity, clearly visible from aircraft but obviously abandoned. In 2021, Dubai announced that Palm Jebel Ali would finally be developed. The revival came as part of Dubai's post-COVID economic recovery and renewed confidence in real estate markets. Nakheel released updated plans showing a completely reimagined development that incorporated lessons learned from Palm Jumeirah and changing market preferences. The new vision for Palm Jebel Ali includes over 80 hotels and resorts, 35 beach clubs, and thousands of residences. Unlike Palm Jumeirah, which focused heavily on villas, Palm Jebel Ali will include more hotels and entertainment venues targeting both residents and tourists. One innovative feature is the Palm Crown, a complex of hotels and entertainment venues at the center of the palm that will become a destination in itself. Construction restarted in 2022, beginning with infrastructure on the completed land areas. Roads are being built, utilities installed, and the island is being prepared for development. The approach differs from the original plan. Rather than developing the entire island at once, Nakheel is proceeding in phases, completing and selling sections before moving to the next. The $20 billion budget includes the original land reclamation costs, the infrastructure development, and the first phases of residential and hotel construction. As of early 2026, significant progress is visible on Palm Jebel Ali. The trunk section has active construction, with roads completed and building sites prepared. The first residential areas are under construction, with villas and low-rise apartments taking shape. The timeline for completion is ambitious. Nakheel has indicated that initial phases will be ready for occupancy by 2027 to 2028, with the full development completed over the following decade. However, questions remain. Dubai's hotel market is highly competitive, with new hotels opening constantly. Can Palm Jebel Ali's 80-plus hotels find enough guests to remain viable? The island's location in Jebel Ali, far from downtown Dubai and the airport, could be a disadvantage compared to more central locations. And broader questions about Dubai's real estate market persist. Is there genuinely sustainable demand for thousands more luxury properties? Or is this another boom that could bust? Environmental concerns have also been raised. Artificial islands disrupt natural coastal processes and marine ecosystems. The massive dredging operations affect seabeds and marine life. The Palm Jebel Ali's construction in the early 2000s caused environmental damage that took years to partially recover from. The revival of development raises these concerns again, though Nakheel insists modern construction methods and environmental controls minimize impact. When completed, Palm Jebel Ali will be visible from space like its predecessor, Palm Jumeirah, adding to Dubai's collection of mega projects designed to capture global attention. Whether it becomes another success story or a cautionary tale about repeating past mistakes will be determined over the coming decade. From the artificial islands of Dubai, we go to Saudi Arabia, where an entirely new city is emerging from the desert. Egypt has a problem that's been getting worse for decades. Cairo is suffocating. The metropolitan area is home to over 20 million people crammed into a space that was already overcrowded 50 years ago. Traffic is a nightmare. Pollution hangs in the air like a heavy blanket, and basic infrastructure struggles to keep up with the population. So Egypt decided to do something radical, abandon the old capital and build a completely new one from scratch in the middle of the desert. The new administrative capital, or NAC as it's usually called, sits about 45 kilometers east of Cairo. When completed, it will cover 700 square kilometers and house 6.5 million people. The government is relocating all its ministries, departments, and administrative functions there, along with foreign embassies, business headquarters, and residential districts for the people who work in them. It's Egypt's attempt to hit the reset button on urban planning. The project began in 2015 under President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who saw the new capital as crucial to Egypt's future. The pitch was simple: Cairo has become unmanageable. So instead of trying to fix centuries of accumulated urban problems, we'll just start fresh. Build new infrastructure properly from the beginning, create organized districts, implement smart city technology, and give Egypt a capital worthy of its ambitions. The scale of construction has been staggering. The first phase alone includes 25 residential districts, a government quarter with buildings for all major ministries, a massive cathedral and mosque sitting side by side, a new international airport, and enough office space to accommodate hundreds of thousands of workers. The centerpiece is the Octagon, an enormous government building that serves as El-Sisi's presidential palace and the administrative heart of the nation. Then there's the iconic tower, a 385-meter skyscraper that will be the tallest building in Africa when completed. Because apparently, you can't build a new capital city without also building the biggest tower on the continent. The tower will house offices, luxury apartments, and a viewing deck offering panoramas of the empty desert that surrounds the city. The new capital was up and running in 2024. For the first year, the 8-lane highways had almost no cars on them. Enormous government buildings sat mostly empty, waiting for ministries to finish relocating. The residential towers had lights off, and it felt like a movie set for a city rather than an actual living, breathing place. The $58 billion price tag kept climbing. Egypt is using Chinese contractors for much of the construction, and funding comes from a mix of government bonds, loans from China, and sales of government assets. But Egypt's economy has been struggling. The currency has devalued significantly, and the cost of importing building materials keeps increasing. Some analysts estimate the real cost could exceed $80 billion by the time the project is truly finished. Critics have been brutal in their assessment. They point out that Egypt has massive problems with poverty, unemployment, and crumbling infrastructure in existing cities. Spending $58 billion on a vanity project in the desert while millions of Egyptians struggle with basic services seems tone-deaf at best and actively harmful at worst. The money could have renovated Cairo's metro, improved schools, upgraded hospitals, tangible benefits for people who actually exist rather than a monument to presidential ambition. There were also questions on whether anyone would actually want to live there. Government employees were being told they must relocate to NAC or lose their jobs. Moving to the new capital meant longer commutes to see family in Cairo, separation from established communities, and higher living costs in a city where everything is new and expensive. The residential towers were priced for upper-middle-class buyers, but those buyers seemed content staying in Cairo's established neighborhoods. Yet slowly, the NAC is coming to life. Government ministries began relocating in 2021, and by 2024, most major departments have at least partial operations there. The population has grown to several hundred thousand, nowhere near the 6.5 million target, but enough to create actual urban activity. Businesses are opening as they follow government contracts. schools and hospitals are becoming operational. The biggest test will come when Egypt truly tries to rebrand the NAC as the nation's capital, updating maps, redirecting international flights, and telling the world that this new city in the desert is where Egypt's government resides. Whether that rebranding sticks depends on factors beyond just construction. It requires creating a sense of place, identity, and community that you can't simply build with concrete and steel. Now, the cranes keep building, the highways keep expanding, and Egypt keeps spending billions on a dream that Cairo couldn't contain. From Egypt's new capital rising in the desert, we head to Dubai, where another massive development has been stuck in limbo for nearly 2 decades. Some skyscrapers define their cities through height, others through design, but the Abraj Al Bait clock tower in Mecca has achieved something even more remarkable. It has become one of the most religiously and culturally significant buildings in the Islamic world. Standing 601 meters tall, the clock tower is part of the Abraj Al Bait complex, a massive development directly adjacent to Masjid al-Haram, Islam's holiest mosque which houses the Kaaba. The tower was built with a singular purpose: to serve the millions of pilgrims who travel to Mecca each year for Hajj and Umrah. Everything about its design, location, and function is oriented towards supporting these religious journeys. The most distinctive feature of the clock tower is, of course, its massive clock face. At 43 meters in diameter, it's the largest clock face in the world, dwarfing even London's Big Ben. The clock is visible from 25 kilometers away and serves as a beacon for pilgrims navigating Mecca. The clock displays time based on Mecca time, which some Islamic scholars propose should be the standard time for the Muslim world, similar to how Greenwich Mean Time serves as a global reference. The clock itself is a marvel of engineering. It's backlit by over 2 million LED lights, making it visible day and night. During prayer times, the clock's lights display as green, while for other parts of the day, they shine white. The clock also features the world's largest and highest sound system, broadcasting the Adhan, call to prayer, that can be heard throughout Mecca. When the call echoes across the city from this height, it's a powerful reminder of Mecca's spiritual significance. Construction of the clock tower began in 2004, but the site's history is controversial. To make room for the Abraj Al Bait complex, the Saudi government demolished the historic Ajad Fortress, an 18th century Ottoman fort that had overlooked the mosque for over 200 years. This decision was heavily criticized by historians and preservationists who argued that Mecca was losing irreplaceable historical structures in the name of modernization. Saudi officials defended the decision by pointing to the desperate need for accommodation for pilgrims, whose numbers grow every year. The complex was developed by the Saudi Bin Laden Group, one of the Middle East's largest construction companies. Building so close to Masjid al-Haram presented unique challenges. Construction had to minimize disruption to pilgrims and worship, while the scale of the project required moving massive amounts of materials through Mecca's crowded streets. The tower was finally completed in 2012, taking 8 years from start to finish. The Abraj Al Bait complex includes 7 towers in total, with the clock tower as the centerpiece. Together, they house a 5-star hotel with thousands of rooms, residential apartments, a massive shopping mall, and a prayer hall that can accommodate tens of thousands of worshippers. The hotel specifically caters to wealthy pilgrims who want to stay as close as possible to the mosque. Some rooms have direct views of the Kaaba, making them among the most sought-after accommodations in the Islamic world. Inside the clock tower itself, the lower levels contain commercial space and hotel facilities. The middle sections house luxury apartments owned by wealthy Saudis and international Muslims who want a permanent residence in Mecca. The upper levels contain a museum dedicated to Islamic astronomy and timekeeping, appropriate given the tower's enormous clock. Near the top, there's an observation deck, though access is restricted and primarily used during special occasions. One of the most interesting aspects of the clock tower is its role in trying to establish Mecca as the center of the Islamic world in a tangible, modern way. The clock doesn't just tell time, it represents a statement that Mecca, not Greenwich, should be the prime meridian for Muslims. While this hasn't been universally adopted, the clock tower serves as a permanent reminder of this aspiration. The tower's cost was enormous, Estimates suggest the entire Abraj Al Bait complex cost around $15 billion, making it one of the most expensive buildings ever constructed. The Saudi government viewed this as a necessary investment to accommodate the growing numbers of pilgrims, which have increased from around 2 million per year in the 1990s to over 8 million today during Hajj season alone. From a purely architectural standpoint, the clock tower has been controversial. Some critics argue that its size and modern design overwhelm the historic mosque and disrupt Mecca's traditional character. Others counter that providing for millions of pilgrims requires practical solutions, and the tower serves this function while also creating a new landmark for the city. Regardless of aesthetic debates, the clock tower has become inseparable from Mecca's identity. When Muslims around the world see images of Mecca today, the clock tower is almost always in the frame, its massive clock face marking the time above one of Islam's most sacred spaces. It represents both the challenges and aspirations of serving a global religious community in the 21st century. Next, we move back to Dubai, where another skyscraper is closing the gap with Burj Khalifa. Jeddah, the kingdom's second-largest city and its main Red Sea port, has seen explosive growth over decades. By the early 2000s, the city's infrastructure was strained, housing was increasingly unaffordable, and traffic congestion was chronic. Rather than trying to retrofit Jeddah's existing urban fabric, Saudi planners decided to build an entirely new city adjacent to it. Jeddah Economic City was announced as part of a new push to create new cities along the Red Sea. The Jeddah project would be the centerpiece of the development, focusing on trade, logistics, industry, and residential communities. The location was chosen strategically. The site lies about 50 kilometers north of central Jeddah, along the Red Sea coast with access to existing highways and near the planned Jeddah-Mecca Expressway. The area was largely undeveloped, mostly desert and some agricultural land, providing a blank canvas for creating a modern city according to 21st century planning principles. The master plan for Jeddah Economic City is ambitious. The development covers 173 square kilometers, roughly the size of Washington, D.C. At full build-out, the city is designed to house 1.4 million residents and create 1 million jobs. The city is organized into distinct zones: a seaport and logistics area, industrial zones, commercial districts, residential neighborhoods, and recreational spaces including beaches and parks. The centerpiece and the most visible element is the Jeddah Tower, originally called Kingdom Tower. This skyscraper, designed to exceed 1,000 meters in height, would become the world's tallest building and the iconic symbol of Jeddah Economic City. Though the tower's construction has faced delays and remains incomplete as of 2026, it represents the ambition and scale of the broader city project. Construction on Jeddah Economic City infrastructure began in 2010. Initial work focused on basic infrastructure, roads, utilities, and port facilities. The King Abdullah Port, a critical component of the development, was completed and opened in 2013. This modern container port gives Jeddah Economic City direct access to global shipping lanes, essential for the logistics and trade focus of the development. The port's success has been one of the project's bright spots. King Abdullah Port has grown rapidly, handling increasing volumes of container traffic and competing effectively with established regional ports. The port has attracted logistics companies, warehousing operations, and light industrial facilities that use the port for imports and exports. This created an economic foundation for the broader city development. Residential development proceeded in phases. The first neighborhoods, completed in the mid-2000s, included thousands of housing units ranging from apartments to villas. These were marketed to Saudi families looking for affordable housing near Jeddah, but frustrated by the main city's high costs and congestion. Industrial zones were established with incentives to attract manufacturers and logistics companies. Several companies built facilities in Jeddah Economic City, attracted by the port access, available land, and government incentives. Light manufacturing, particularly for export-oriented industries, found the location appealing. However, attracting heavy industry proved more challenging given Saudi Arabia's high energy costs compared to some regional competitors. The 2017 to 2018 period brought significant challenges. The Saudi government's fiscal situation was pressured by lower oil prices, and major projects across the kingdom faced budget constraints. The broader Economic Cities initiative was reassessed, and several planned cities were scaled back or put on hold. Jeddah Economic City continued, but with reduced government funding and a more pragmatic timeline. The project also faced the challenge that creating a successful city requires more than just buildings and infrastructure. Cities need jobs to attract residents, but employers want to locate where workers already live. Jeddah Economic City addressed this partly through the port and industrial zones, which created jobs, but attracting enough economic activity to support 1.4 million residents remained aspirational. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 initiative, launched in 2016, provided renewed context and support for Jeddah Economic City. Vision 2030 emphasizes economic diversification, private sector job creation, and improving quality of life, all goals that Jeddah Economic City advances. The project was repositioned as a key Vision 2030 initiative, potentially unlocking additional funding and government support. As of early 2026, Jeddah Economic City is partially developed and operational, but far from the original vision. The King Abdullah Port is thriving and expanding. Several residential neighborhoods are complete with thousands of residents. Industrial zones have attracted some tenants, though occupancy rates vary. The beachfront areas have seen development, including hotels and recreational facilities serving both residents and visitors from Jeddah. However, large portions of the 173 square kilometer site remain undeveloped. Many planned neighborhoods exist only on paper. The commercial core that would create an urban center with offices, retail, and cultural facilities is only beginning to take shape. And the Jeddah Tower, which would serve as the ultimate landmark and symbol, remains an unfinished structure after years of construction delays. The vision of a new city of 1.4 million residents remains distant, with the current population reaching just over 100,000 people. Whether the city will ever reach its planned scale depends on Saudi Arabia's continued economic growth, the success of Vision 2030, and whether Jeddah Economic City can attract businesses and residents needed to reach critical mass. For the biggest megaproject on today's video, we cross continents yet again to move to Northern Africa. In 2003, Dubai announced a project so ambitious, so over the top, that it made every other tourism development on Earth look modest by comparison. Dubailand would cover 278 square kilometers, twice the size of Disneyland and Disney World combined, and feature everything from theme parks to sports complexes, shopping malls to cultural attractions, hotels to residential communities. It would be the world's largest tourism and entertainment destination, attracting 200 million visitors annually. The announcement came during Dubai's massive boom years, when oil money was flowing, real estate prices were skyrocketing, and the city seemed convinced it could build absolutely anything. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid wanted to diversify Dubai's economy beyond oil, and tourism was the answer. But Dubai couldn't just build normal theme parks. They needed the biggest, the best, the most extravagant entertainment complex ever conceived. The master plan divided Dubailand into multiple zones, each with its own theme. There would be a massive indoor ski slope that would make the one in Mall of the Emirates look tiny, a replica of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, a sports city with stadiums for every major sport, an enormous shopping district modeled after a traditional Arabian souk but supersized to mall proportions. Universal Studios was in talks to build a major park there. Marvel had signed on for a superhero-themed attraction. The list went on and on. Construction actually began in 2003, and for a few years, real progress happened. Land was cleared, infrastructure was laid, and a few early attractions started taking shape. The Global Village, a cultural festival and shopping destination, opened in 2004 and became genuinely popular with both tourists and locals. IMG Worlds of Adventure, a massive indoor theme park, broke ground. Things were moving. Then, 2008 happened. The global financial crisis absolutely devastated Dubai's economy. Real estate prices crashed by 50% or more. Credit dried up instantly. Construction companies went bankrupt. Foreign investors fled, projects across the city ground to a halt, and Dubailand was hit particularly hard because it was almost entirely dependent on speculative investment and future tourism revenue. By 2009, Dubailand was a wasteland. Huge tracts of cleared land sat empty. Half-built structures rusted in the desert sun. The roads that had been paved led to nothing. It looked like a post-apocalyptic theme park, which in a way it was, a monument to the excesses of the boom years that came crashing down. For years, nobody talked about Dubailand. It became an embarrassment, proof that even Dubai's ambitions had limits. The government quietly shelved the project, focusing instead on saving existing developments and stabilizing the economy. The few attractions that had opened remained operational, but expansion plans were indefinitely postponed. Then something interesting happened. As Dubai's economy recovered in the mid-2000s, developers started returning to the Dubailand site, not for the original massive vision, but for smaller, more realistic projects. IMG Worlds of Adventure finally opened in 2016 and became a solid success. Dubai Safari opened in 2017, featuring habitats for over 2,500 animals. The Qiddiya Water Park started taking shape. These weren't the world-dominating mega attractions originally planned, but they were actual, functioning entertainment venues that people visited and enjoyed. By 2020, Dubailand had quietly transformed into something different from the original vision. Instead of one unified mega complex, it became a district where various entertainment and sports facilities happened to be located near each other. There's no cohesive theme, no unified branding, no single entity managing the whole thing. It's just an area of Dubai where you can find theme parks, sports facilities, and event spaces. The original $64 billion budget is long forgotten. Nobody knows exactly how much was spent on Dubailand because the project fragmented into dozens of separate developments with different owners and funding sources. Some estimates suggest maybe $10 to $15 billion has actually been invested over the years, a fraction of the initial plan. So is Dubailand a failure? In terms of the original vision, absolutely. The project that was announced in 2003 will never be built. That version of Dubailand exists only in old press releases and faded renderings. But the area has evolved into something functional, if unspectacular, a collection of entertainment venues that serve Dubai's growing tourism industry without requiring a unified megavision. Dubailand narrates a story that not every megaproject needs to be built as originally imagined to have value. Sometimes the infrastructure gets used differently than planned, serving purposes the original designers never anticipated. The roads and utilities installed for the mega complex now serve smaller developments. The land that was cleared enabled faster construction of more modest projects. The global attention Dubai received from announcing Dubailand helped establish the city as a tourism destination, even though the actual park was never built. Dubailand now stands as a reminder that even in a city famous for impossible projects, there are limits to ambition. But it also shows that failed megaprojects don't necessarily stay failed. They transform, adapt, and sometimes find new purpose in forms nobody expected. From Dubai's transformed entertainment district, we zoom out to look at a project that aims to connect the entire Gulf region. Dubai is preparing to add another mega-tall skyscraper to its already impressive skyline, and this one is coming with ambitious claims. The Burj Azizi, announced in 2024, is planned to reach approximately 725 meters into the sky, which would make it the second tallest building in Dubai and one of the tallest residential towers in the world. The project is being developed by Azizi Developments, a company that has built a strong reputation in Dubai's real estate market over the past 2 decades. Azizi has completed numerous mid-rise and high-rise projects across the city, but Burj Azizi represents the developer's most ambitious undertaking by far. It's a statement project designed to elevate Azizi into the same league as the developers behind Dubai's most iconic towers. The tower will be located along Sheikh Zayed Road, Dubai's main artery that runs the length of the city and is already lined with numerous skyscrapers. The specific location places Burj Azizi in one of Dubai's most connected areas, with easy access to the metro, major highways, and key destinations throughout the city. It's a strategic choice that will make the tower highly visible while ensuring convenience for residents and visitors. Burj Azizi's design has been carefully planned to create multiple revenue streams and experiences within a single tower. The lower floors will house a luxury hotel, bringing an internationally recognized hospitality brand to the project. Above that, several floors will be dedicated to high-end retail and dining, creating a vertical lifestyle destination. The middle and upper sections of the tower will contain residential units, with the very highest floors reserved for exclusive penthouses with unparalleled views of Dubai. One of the most talked about features of Burj Azizi is the planned observation deck at around 700 meters. If completed as planned, this would be one of the highest publicly accessible viewing platforms in the world. The developers have indicated this deck will offer 360-degree views of Dubai, allowing visitors to see from the Palm Jumeirah to the desert beyond the city limits. There's also discussion of including a high-end restaurant at a similar height, which would compete with the famous Atmosphere restaurant in the Burj Khalifa for the title of world's highest restaurant. The project was announced with great fanfare in early 2024, with Azizi Development's chairman emphasizing that Dubai continues to attract incredible demand for luxury real estate despite global economic uncertainties. The company pointed to the city's growing population, its status as a safe haven for international wealth, and the continued influx of high-net-worth individuals as justification for such an ambitious project. Construction timelines announced with the project suggest groundbreaking in 2024, with completion targeted for 2028 or 2029. This would be an aggressive schedule for a building of this height, requiring precise coordination and favorable conditions throughout the construction process. The foundation work alone will be a massive undertaking, requiring deep pilings and extensive structural work to ensure stability for a tower of this height. The residential units in Burj Azizi are being marketed to an international clientele, with particular focus on wealthy buyers from India, Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. Dubai's tax-free status, luxury lifestyle, and political stability continue to make it attractive to global investors and individuals seeking a second or third residence. The higher floors in a tower like Burj Azizi are especially appealing because they offer bragging rights. Owning an apartment in one of the world's tallest residential towers is a status symbol that money can buy. Pricing details released so far suggest units will start in the millions of dollars, with penthouses likely to command prices exceeding $50 million. For buyers at this level, the exact price is less important than the exclusivity and prestige that comes with the address. Azizi is reportedly offering flexible payment plans and attractive financing to encourage pre-construction sales, a common practice in Dubai's real estate market. One aspect that makes Burj Azizi interesting is the timing. The project was announced during a period of strong real estate performance in Dubai, but at a time when global economic headwinds were causing concern in other markets. The developer's confidence in moving forward reflects a belief that Dubai's specific circumstances, including population growth, tourism recovery, and continued attraction of international wealth, will sustain demand even if other markets soften. Whether Burj Azizi ultimately becomes everything it promises remains to be seen. Dubai has a mixed track record with announced mega projects. Some have exceeded expectations, while others have faced delays or reduced scope. The next few years will reveal whether Burj Azizi joins the ranks of Dubai's most iconic towers or becomes another ambitious proposal that doesn't quite materialize as originally envisioned. What's certain is that if completed as planned, Burj Azizi will significantly impact Dubai's skyline and add another impressive data point to the city's collection of record-breaking buildings. But with Burj Azizi yet to mount a challenge, we move to the final two skyscrapers that may well join the Jeddah Tower in the exclusive 1 kilometer club. In one of the driest regions on Earth, Libya accomplished something that seems impossible: creating a river. Not a natural river, but a man-made system that pumps ancient water from deep beneath the Sahara Desert and transports it hundreds of kilometers to Libya's coastal cities. The Great Man-Made River is arguably the world's largest irrigation project, a $25 billion engineering marvel that provides 70% of Libya's fresh water, and a mega-project that tells the story of Libya's past ambitions and current struggles. To understand why Libya built this extraordinary project, you need to understand Libya's water crisis. Libya is one of the most arid countries on Earth, with over 90% of its territory covered by the Sahara Desert. Rainfall is scarce and unreliable. Coastal cities like Tripoli and Benghazi relied on aquifers that were being depleted faster than they could recharge. As Libya's population grew in the mid-20th century, water scarcity became an existential threat. In the 1950s, while searching for oil in the Sahara Desert, geologists made an unexpected discovery: massive aquifers containing fresh water deep underground. These aquifers were formed thousands of years ago when the Sahara was wetter, and they hold an estimated 35,000 cubic kilometers of water, though only a fraction is extractable. This fossil water doesn't replenish. Once used, it's gone. But Libya's leadership saw an opportunity: pump this ancient water to the coast and solve the water crisis. Muammar Gaddafi, who ruled Libya from 1969 to 2011, championed the Great Man-Made River as a signature project of his regime. He called it the eighth wonder of the world and positioned it as a gift to the Libyan people and Africa. The project would demonstrate Libya's technological capability and improve millions of Libyans' lives. Planning began in the late 1970s with feasibility studies conducted by international engineering firms. The plan called for drilling hundreds of wells deep into the Sahara aquifers, then constructing enormous pipelines to transport water hundreds of kilometers to coastal cities. The system would be built in phases, with each phase adding new wells and pipelines to expand coverage. Construction began in 1984 on Phase 1, connecting wells in the Tazerbo and Sarir areas to Benghazi and surrounding cities. The engineering challenges were immense. The wells had to be drilled 450 to 500 meters deep to reach the aquifers. The pipelines, each pipe 4 meters in diameter and made of pre-stressed concrete, had to cross hundreds of kilometers of desert. These pipes were manufactured in Libya at purpose-built factories with over 500,000 pipe sections eventually produced for the entire system. The construction process was remarkable. In the desert, workers excavated trenches for the pipes, then installed them section by section. Each pipe section weighed several tons and required specialized equipment to position. The pipes were then buried to protect them from temperature extremes and potential damage. Pump stations were built at intervals to maintain water pressure across the vast distances. Phase 1 was completed in 1991, delivering 1 million cubic meters of water daily to Benghazi. The impact was immediate. Water quality improved, availability increased, and agriculture expanded in areas that previously struggled. Encouraged by this success, Libya pushed forward with additional phases. Phase 2, completed in 1996, connected the Jebel Hassouna area to Tripoli and surrounding cities. Phase 3 added connections to the Kufra and Tazerbo areas. Phase 4 and 5 expanded the network further. By the early 2000s, the Great Man-Made River system consisted of over 4,000 kilometers of pipelines, more than 1,300 wells, and numerous reservoirs and pump stations. The system was delivering approximately 6.5 million cubic meters of water daily to Libya's coastal cities. The total cost reached approximately $25 billion, an enormous sum, particularly for a country of Libya's size. The funding came from Libya's oil revenues during a period when oil prices were relatively high and Libya's economy was stronger. International contractors and engineers were involved, but Libya insisted on developing local expertise and manufacturing capacity for the pipes and equipment. For Libya, the project was transformative. Cities that had struggled with water shortages now had abundant clean water. Agricultural development expanded, with previously barren areas cultivated using the desert water. The project employed thousands of Libyans and became a source of national pride. From a purely technical perspective, the Great Man-Made River was an engineering success. Then came 2011. The Libyan civil war erupted. Gaddafi's regime fell, and Libya descended into chaos that continues to this day. The Great Man-Made River became both a casualty and a lifeline during the conflict. Several sections of pipeline were damaged by fighting. Pump stations lost power. Maintenance became difficult as the country fragmented into competing factions. Yet the system continued operating, testament to its robust design and the efforts of engineers and workers who maintained it despite extraordinary circumstances. Water continued flowing to Tripoli, Benghazi, and other cities even as the country descended into conflict. This highlighted the system's critical importance. Without it, Libya's cities would face catastrophic water shortages. As of 2026, the Great Man-Made River continues operating but faces serious challenges. Maintenance has been deferred due to funding shortages and security concerns. Some sections need repairs, but accessing them in contested areas is difficult. The system operates below its design capacity due to damaged infrastructure and power supply issues. There are concerns about water quality in some areas due to inadequate maintenance of treatment facilities. There are also growing concerns about sustainability. The fossil water in the aquifers is finite and non-renewable. Studies suggest that at current extraction rates, some aquifers might be depleted within 50 to 100 years. Alternative water sources, particularly desalination, may eventually be needed, but these are expensive, and Libya's current political and economic situation makes large new infrastructure investments unlikely. The Great Man-Made River was built during Gaddafi's rule, funded by oil revenues during relatively prosperous times, and it relies on a finite resource that will eventually run dry, meaning Libya hasn't actually solved its water crisis permanently. It's just delayed the problem by several decades. The Great Man-Made River remains operational in 2026, continuing to deliver water to millions of Libyans despite the country's ongoing challenges. Whether it will survive another 25 years and whether Libya will find sustainable water solutions to replace or supplement it remains uncertain. But for now, this $25 billion river in the desert stands as one of Africa's most ambitious engineering projects, a testament to human ingenuity and the extraordinary lengths nations will go to secure the most fundamental resource. For decades, the countries of the Gulf Cooperation Council, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman, have talked about building a railway that would connect them all. It makes perfect sense. These nations share similar economies, conduct extensive trade with each other, and have growing populations that frequently travel between Gulf cities. A high-speed rail network could transform regional connectivity while reducing dependence on cars and short-haul flights. The Gulf Railway has been in planning since 2008 with an estimated price tag of $250 billion. When completed, the network would span over 2,000 kilometers, linking major cities from Kuwait City in the north to Muscat in the south. Trains traveling at speeds up to 350 kilometers per hour would make the journey from Riyadh to Dubai in about 4 hours, compared to a 90-minute flight or an 8-hour drive. But here's the thing about the Gulf Railway. It keeps getting announced, then delayed, then re-announced, then delayed again. It's been about to start construction for over 15 years. Each member country has its own priorities, its own timeline, and its own ideas about how the project should work. Getting 6 sovereign nations with massive egos and competing interests to coordinate on anything is difficult. Getting them to coordinate on a $250 billion infrastructure project that crosses multiple borders? That's nearly impossible. The project was supposed to be completed in time for Qatar's 2022 World Cup. Obviously, that didn't happen. Then the target moved to 2025. That's not happening either. The latest estimates suggest maybe 2030, but nobody believes that timeline either. Individual countries have made progress on their portions. The UAE has built substantial sections of the Etihad Rail network, connecting key industrial areas and ports. Saudi Arabia is developing its own rail system, including high-speed links between major cities. But these national projects aren't necessarily being built to connect seamlessly with neighboring countries. Different gauge standards, different signaling systems, and different operational approaches mean that even when the tracks physically meet at borders, the trains might not be able to cross. The $250 billion budget is more of a rough estimate than a real figure. Each country funds its own section, and costs keep escalating as the project drags on. What seemed affordable in 2008 dollars looks much more expensive today, especially with inflation and increased material costs. Some analysts suggest the real cost could approach $400 billion if the entire network is ever actually built. There are genuine obstacles beyond just coordination problems. The Gulf's extreme heat wreaks havoc on railway infrastructure. Rails expand in the heat, electronics fail, and cooling systems for stations consume massive amounts of energy. The terrain includes extensive desert, salt flats that corrode everything they touch, and mountain ranges that require expensive tunneling. Building rail in the Gulf is simply harder and more expensive than building it almost anywhere else. Despite all the delays and doubts, the Gulf Railway refuses to die. It gets mentioned in every new economic plan, every tourism strategy, every vision statement released by Gulf governments. The project has taken on symbolic importance beyond its practical value. It represents regional unity, modern infrastructure, and the Gulf's transition from oil-dependent economies to diversified modern states. If the Gulf Railway is ever completed, it will be a genuine achievement in international cooperation and infrastructure development. A seamless, high-speed network connecting 6 countries would boost regional trade, tourism, and economic integration in meaningful ways. But IF is doing a lot of work here. At $250 billion, it stands as the second most expensive megaproject on our list. But the #1 spot belongs to a project so absurd, so technically impossible, that it makes the Gulf Railway and Trojena look reasonable in comparison. The destination for the first proposed skyscraper to rise beyond 1,000 meters in the sky is Kuwait. Burj Mubarak Al-Kabir will stand at a height of 1,001 meters as a reference to the classic Middle Eastern folktale, 1001 Arabian Nights. Designed by architect Santiago Calatrava to feature 234 floors, the skyscraper will be the centerpiece of the $80 billion development Madinat Al-Harir, or the City of Silk. This massive development represents one of the most ambitious urban projects ever proposed in the Middle East, with an estimated total investment of $86 billion. The city is envisioned as a complete urban center that will include residential areas, commercial districts, entertainment venues, and cultural facilities spread across a vast area north of Kuwait City. Burj Mubarak Al-Kabir would serve as the iconic landmark anchoring this entire development. The design consists of 3 interlocked towers that will provide support against 200 km/h winds. Each of the 3 towers, built like blades, will twist 45 degrees for strength and then expand at the top, giving the skyscraper more usable space near the top as compared to other megatall structures. The twist also means that the tower's appearance changes dramatically depending on the viewing angle, creating a dynamic presence on Kuwait's skyline. The building was proposed initially in 2007, but the construction on the tower is yet to start. However, the administrators maintain that the tower will be an important part of Kuwait Vision 2035. The Madinat Al-Harir development itself faced numerous challenges beyond just financing. The project required extensive infrastructure development, including roads, utilities, and public transportation systems to serve what would essentially be a new city. Environmental assessments needed to be conducted, particularly regarding the project's impact on Kuwait's desert ecosystem and water resources. Planning a development of this scale also required coordination across multiple government ministries and private sector partners, adding layers of complexity. While aimed at supporting economic diversification, the construction timeline is ambitious, with some reports citing a 25-year development period. The reality is that Burj Mubarak Al-Kabir faces an uncertain future. Nearly 2 decades after its initial proposal, the tower remains unbuilt, and questions persist about whether Kuwait has the political will and economic conditions necessary to pursue such an ambitious project. It is one of the 3 future skyscrapers in the Middle East that will soar over 1 kilometer into the sky, However, it will be surpassed by the other two super-tall structures in Saudi Arabia and Dubai. There are ambitious megaprojects, and then there's the line, a proposal so audacious that when Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman first unveiled it in 2021, many observers thought it was satire. A city built as a straight line, 170 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, and 500 meters tall, stretching across the desert with no cars, no streets, and 9 million residents living in a mirrored glass structure that would be visible from space. The estimated cost? At least $500 billion, possibly exceeding $1 trillion. The line would be car-free, pollution-free, and unlike any city ever built. It sounded less like urban planning and more like science fiction. Saudi Arabia made extraordinary promises about what the line would deliver. The project would create 380,000 jobs during construction and more after completion. It would add $48 billion to Saudi GDP annually. It would be powered entirely by renewable energy, producing zero carbon emissions. The city would be completed by 2030, giving Saudi Arabia less than a decade to build something that had never been attempted in human history. Most ambitiously, the line would reimagine how humans live in cities. Water desalination and pumping systems, and advanced technology integration would each represent multi-billion-dollar expenditures. Some estimates suggested the true cost could cross the trillion-dollar mark if the project was actually built as described. Skepticism emerged immediately from urban planners, architects, engineers, and economists. The physics of a 170-kilometer building presented problems no one had solved. How do you prevent a structure that longed from cracking as it expands and contracts with temperature changes? The economics seemed dubious. Who would actually want to live in a 170-kilometer-long building in the middle of the desert? The timeline was absurd. Megacities take generations to develop, not 9 years, and the whole concept of a linear city contradicted a century of urban planning knowledge about how cities actually function. But Saudi Arabia insisted the line was real. In October 2022, construction officially began with a groundbreaking ceremony. Footage showed excavators moving earth, workers on site, and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman declaring that the line would be Saudi Arabia's gift to the world. The government released images of initial construction work, with massive earth-moving operations clearing the route where the line would be built. For skeptics who thought the line was just a promotional video, this was concerning. Saudi Arabia appeared to be actually attempting this impossible project. By early 2023, satellite imagery confirmed extensive construction activity. Massive excavation work stretched across portions of the planned route. Temporary worker camps were established to house the tens of thousands of laborers who would be needed. Roads were being built to access remote desert areas where the line would rise. The scale of Earth being moved was visible from space. Millions of cubic meters of rock and sand excavated to prepare foundations. Then, reality began intruding. In mid-2023, reports emerged that engineers working on the line were raising serious concerns about the feasibility of the design. The linear structure created problems for everything from evacuation during emergencies to basic ventilation and water pressure at different points along the 170-kilometer length. The high-speed rail system, which needed to accelerate and decelerate to make stops while still covering 170 kilometers in 20 minutes, required technology that didn't exist. The mirrored glass exterior would create a heat death trap for birds and potentially blind pilots flying nearby. Costs were spiraling beyond even the pessimistic initial estimates. Every engineering problem discovered added billions to the budget. The realization set in that building the line as originally envisioned would require not $500 billion, but potentially over $1.5 trillion, an amount exceeding Saudi Arabia's entire annual GDP. Even with the kingdom's vast oil wealth and the public investment fund's hundreds of billions in assets, finding that much money for a single project would strain Saudi finances to the breaking point. Human rights organizations began documenting disturbing reports from the line's construction sites. Workers described dangerous conditions, withheld wages, and passport confiscation, the same abuses that had plagued other Gulf megaprojects for decades. More disturbingly, Reports emerged that Saudi authorities had forcibly evicted and in some cases killed members of the Hawai Tat tribe who lived in areas designated for the line. The Saudi government also faced allegations that the entire NEOM project, including the line, was being used to enrich contractors and officials through inflated contracts and questionable procurement processes. While direct evidence of corruption was difficult to obtain in Saudi Arabia's opaque system, the massive budgets and rushed timelines created obvious opportunities for funds to disappear into private pockets rather than actual construction. Then came the oil price problem. Saudi Arabia's mega-project spending spree was predicated on oil revenues remaining high and stable. Through 2021 to 2022, oil prices had been elevated, providing the kingdom with enormous revenues. But by late 2023 and into 2024, oil prices became more volatile and dropped from their peaks. Saudi Arabia found itself facing budget constraints at precisely the moment when the line and other Vision 2030 projects required maximum funding. Suddenly, the arithmetic of spending over $1 trillion on a linear city in the desert while also funding dozens of other megaprojects became untenable. In September 2024, Reuters reported that Saudi Arabia was drastically scaling back the line. The original plan to build 170 kilometers by 2030 was being reduced to just 2.4 kilometers, a 98% reduction in scope. Instead of housing 1.5 million people by 2030, this scaled-back version would accommodate fewer than 300,000. The story, citing sources close to the project, suggested that Saudi Arabia had concluded the original vision was simply impossible to deliver on any reasonable timeline or budget. Saudi officials initially denied the report, insisting the line would proceed as planned. But the denials were unconvincing. No credible explanation was provided for how the original timeline could be met. No updated cost figures were released, and no evidence was presented that the fundamental engineering problems had been solved. Industry insiders and analysts began operating under the assumption that the scaled-back version was the reality, regardless of official statements. By early 2025, the situation became clearer. Saudi Arabia quietly shifted messaging around the line, emphasizing that NEOM was a long-term project and that initial phases would be smaller than originally announced. The 170-kilometer vision was reframed as an ultimate goal rather than a 2030 commitment. References to the 2030 completion date became vague or disappeared entirely. The government released updated renderings showing a much shorter structure, though exact specifications were not provided. The engineering reality had proven insurmountable. Building even a small section of the line to the specifications shown in the original promotional videos would require solving problems that stumped the world's best engineers. Creating a structure 500 meters tall and even 10 kilometers long presented challenges with wind loading, foundation engineering, structural integrity, and building systems that had no proven solutions. Attempting to build 170 kilometers was entering the realm of fantasy. Financial reality was equally damning. Even the scaled-back version would cost tens of billions, and it was unclear what purpose it would serve. A 2.4-kilometer linear building in the desert, housing 300,000 people, didn't represent a revolutionary new form of urbanism. It was just a very expensive apartment complex with awkward geometry. The original vision of the line derived whatever conceptual coherence it had from the extreme length that would create a unique urban form. A short version was simply a normal development with an impractical shape. As of early 2026, construction continues on what appears to be a dramatically reduced version of the line. Exactly what is being built remains somewhat unclear. Saudi Arabia has not released detailed updated plans, and information from the site is tightly controlled. Satellite imagery shows ongoing construction activity in a limited area, suggesting work on some sort of structure, but nothing approaching the 170-kilometer vision. Workers remain on site, earth continues being moved, and money continues being spent, but toward what end is uncertain. The question now is whether even a scaled-back version will be completed and whether it will serve any useful purpose. What has Saudi Arabia actually achieved with the line? Billions have been spent on planning, design, and initial construction. Thousands of workers have been employed, significant earth has been moved, international attention has been captured. But in terms of delivering the revolutionary linear city that was promised, the achievement is essentially zero. The line appears destined to become one of the most expensive failures in megaproject history. Dubai isn't content with just having the world's tallest building. The city wants to keep that title for the foreseeable future. Enter the Dubai Creek Tower, a project so ambitious that its exact final height remains a closely guarded secret, revealed only as at least 1,300 meters. The tower was announced in 2016 by Emaar Properties, the same developer behind the Burj Khalifa. The announcement came at the perfect moment, just as it seemed like other countries might challenge Dubai's height supremacy. Saudi Arabia's Jeddah Tower had been under construction since 2013, with plans to exceed 1,000 meters. Dubai's response was to plan something even taller, ensuring the city would maintain its position at the pinnacle of super-tall architecture. What makes Dubai Creek Tower particularly interesting is that it's not technically a building in the traditional sense. It's classified as a tower, and its function is quite different from the Burj Khalifa. Rather than housing residences, offices, and hotels across dozens of occupied floors, Dubai Creek Tower is designed primarily as an observation and entertainment destination. The structure will have fewer than 20 floors, with most of its height consisting of a slender spire reaching into the sky. The design was created by Santiago Calatrava, the renowned Spanish architect and engineer known for his distinctive organic forms that often incorporate elements inspired by nature. Calatrava's vision for Dubai Creek Tower draws inspiration from the lily flower and Islamic architecture, creating a shape that's both elegant and structurally efficient. The tower's form tapers as it rises, with a bulb-shaped section near the base that houses the observation decks and other public spaces. The tower is planned as the centerpiece of Dubai Creek Harbor, a massive new development along Dubai Creek. This project represents one of Dubai's most ambitious urban planning initiatives, creating an entirely new district that will eventually house hundreds of thousands of residents. The Creek Tower will serve as both a landmark for this district and a tourist attraction that draws visitors from around the world. Construction began in 2016 with great fanfare. Dubai's ruler attended the groundbreaking ceremony, and early progress was rapid. The foundation work required unprecedented engineering, with massive reinforced concrete structures extending deep into the ground to support what would be one of the tallest structures ever built. The tower's structural system relies on a central reinforced concrete core with a steel cable system providing additional support, similar to the design used for some of the world's tallest telecommunications towers. However, in 2018, construction abruptly halted. The developer announced a pause to reassess the project, citing a need to evaluate engineering and design details. In reality, several factors contributed to the decision. The global economic environment had become more uncertain, raising questions about the timing of such a massive investment. Additionally, Saudi Arabia's Jeddah Tower had also stopped construction due to financial and political issues, reducing the competitive pressure that partly motivated Dubai Creek Tower's announcement. As of now, the tower remains on hold with no official restart date announced. The site sits partially developed, with foundation work complete but little above-ground progress visible. Emaar has continued to insist that the project will resume and be completed, but hasn't provided concrete timelines. Some observers question whether the tower will ever be finished as originally planned, while others argue that Dubai's track record of completing ambitious projects suggests it will eventually happen. The planned features of Dubai Creek Tower, if completed, would be extraordinary. The main observation deck would be at around 1,000 meters, higher than any other publicly accessible viewing platform in the world. From this height, visitors would be able to see the entire Dubai metropolitan area, with the Burj Khalifa appearing small in the distance. On exceptionally clear days, visibility could extend more than 100 kilometers. Beyond the observation decks, the tower's design includes gardens at various heights, creating green spaces in the sky. There would be restaurants and cafes offering dining experiences at unprecedented altitudes. The tower's pinnacle would feature LED lighting that could create spectacular displays visible across Dubai, potentially becoming a nightly show similar to the Burj Khalifa's fountain display. The engineering challenges of building to such heights are immense. Wind loads at 1,300 meters are far greater than at 800 meters, requiring structural solutions that push the boundaries of current technology. Elevators would need to travel unprecedented distances, requiring either multiple transfer points or advances in elevator technology. Whether such an investment makes financial sense depends on its ability to attract tourists and enhance the value of the surrounding real estate. Calculation that Dubai's developers have generally proven adept at making. The tower's role in Dubai's broader vision cannot be understated. Dubai has built its modern identity partly on having world-class, record-breaking projects. The Burj Khalifa put Dubai on the global map in a way that few other developments could. If Dubai Creek Tower is completed as planned, it would reaffirm Dubai's position as a city willing to pursue seemingly impossible projects and see them through to completion. For now, Dubai Creek Tower remains a promise rather than a reality, a symbol of ambition waiting for the right moment to resume its climb toward the clouds. Is there still a future for the line? And would you like to see more kilometer-tall skyscrapers? Comment your thoughts on these incredible megaprojects. And if you enjoyed this video, check out our deep dive into the most impressive megaprojects turning into reality in China. Keep following Signum as we bring you the details of humanity's soaring ambition.